My sweet grandma.
It's us. Been drinking some
Got hit
more
with an ad for my own channel.
Been drinking some more beer lately. What's the volume switch?
I can't. It's an ad.
Damn, we're running ads?
No, it's pre-roll ads. It's not our ad.
Oh, lame.
It's Jeff Bezos' money, not our money.
Lame.
Where's this music coming from?
I don't hear music.
No.
Alright, the ad.
Oh, that's me.
You're so dumb. You're so dumb.
I'm more of a boomer than Sean is.
Are we double volume?
Wait, hold on. I'm gonna mute you guys real quick so I can hear just stream.
Okay. Yeah. Is it? Stacey, you should talk though, so that Martin can hear us on this.
Okay.
Yeah. Testing.
Yeah. Testing. Are we live?
I'm so hungry. What a hard day at work.
I was debating making myself a salad or eating this, because I feel like I haven't had anything green recently.
Yeah, same.
There is indeed double audio.
Alright.
It's a very, very slight echo.
How's this? Can you still hear me on stream?
Yes, I can still hear you.
Is it fine? The volume, how you?
But I can hear myself twice.
You can still hear yourself twice. You might be able. I wonder if you
I can hear you once, but I can hear myself twice.
Interesting.
No, I muted the audio from the Zoom, so I only hear Twitch right now.
Oh, interesting.
Which is also why I'm like slightly delayed, because I'm listening to the audio from the stream.
Whoa, weird. I'm like super delayed. I'm like watching this stream.
How about this?
Stacey only here once. It's literally just me.
Maybe.
Okay, good. Everything's good. Yes. Perfect. Wow, Sean just troubleshooted his own tech issues.
Wait, this is good. This is good.
Yeah. This is great. Audio quality is.
Word. Okay, cool. Well, we're live. I'm assuming the two viewers are you two, but this is our for our records anyways. Cheers, Prost.
True. I'm muting stream and going.
Oh my god, I thought you were drinking hot sauce.
No. Happy end of Heritage Month. Happy Pride Month.
Would be down to do shots of hot sauce, actually.
Happy Pride Month, everyone.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride Month. Yes.
Happy commemoration of Heritage Month and Mental Health Awareness Month. How's everyone doing? Boa notte, Galara. Hello. Good night to you as well, I think. Bizin, what's up? How are you doing?
Is that Portuguese?
I don't know.
Boa
Muy
noite?
look like Puka? Yeah, you like my pigtails?
You do look like Puka.
Puka.
Garu. Our former intern Staj.
What's up?
Sad.
We are in Brazil. Hi Brazil.
Hi Brazil.
What's up Brazil?
But yeah.
So we're talking. So for those of you who are new in chat, I'm gonna take a bite of chicken because I'm hungry. But for those of you who are new, we are the My Sweet Grandma team -1.
-1.
And we're here to recap. We just did a month-long event called the Feast of Resistance on Twitch, where we made food on stream, original dishes that are all inspired by moments of Asian American history. And using food as the platform, we were telling those stories of history. And now we're here. Now we're at the end of, I guess, the start of the new month, which means the end of Heritage Month, end of Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. And we're here to recap, kind of talk about our thoughts as we were going through Heritage Month and things that we've learned and things that we want to take away, and just reflecting on Heritage Month as a whole. Do you want to introduce yourselves?
Ladies first.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Stacy, aka Fab, to my MSG team. I literally have no idea what to say.
It's okay.
Glad you all can make it. I would like to add that Heritage Month is every month. Thank you very much.
Man, I was gonna say that.
But yeah, I'm excited to talk about what we've learned, discovered this past month about API heritage, about ourselves. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. My name is Martin. You may have seen me on one of the previous streams. Sound good. All right. Love to hear it. Yeah, my name is Martin. You know, honorary member of the Lu family. Co-founding member of. Oh, what?
What? Oh, yeah, I'm Sean's sister. I guess that's...
yes. Actual sister. I am
actual sister.
not actual brother. But family is, who you choose, right? So.
That's right.
Sean chose me because I can point a camera at him and make him look good. But yeah, really excited to recap the month. It was a very interesting month. Both for us, we hit Twitch. What is it?
Affiliate.
What are we? Affiliate? Yeah, Twitch affiliate, which was awesome. Got to hang out with cool people on stream like you guys. We did some very serious streams. We did a DGen stream. It was a good time. Sean came up with some very interesting and deep, thought-provoking dishes around specific historical moments, both for Asians and both Asians ourselves and Asians as the context of in American history, which I'm sure we'll go over later. But yeah, I'm just excited to hang out, chill on stream.
Yeah, what's everyone eating? I'm having lots of jiding, which is basically spicy chicken pieces from one of the restaurants nearby me. It's actually like in the back of a bubble tea store, and they serve like other foods as well, and it's delicious. I really wanted spicy fried chicken, so that's why I got. Actually, I really wanted like Hong Kong style barbecue, but the place was closed. So this was the next best thing.
I'm having some homemade like kimchi stew type of thing that my partner made, but it's made with homemade kimchi, and yeah, it's the kimchi saga continues from last DGen
Wait, is that the one that blew up?
The one that blew up?
Yeah,
well, it was like in your mini fridge that like blew up, right?
No, that wasn't the kimchi. That was I think it was like tapachi that he made, or ginger beer. It was one or the other.
I see.
But no, not my kimchi. This is the kimchi that you tried last time.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Starving right now?
Korean approved.
Go eat something. Go eat something, Beeson. Get something yummy from Brazil.
Join in. Grab a snack.
Yeah, what time is it there? I feel like if you're on the East Coast, it's about the same time as us. East Coast of Brazil, I mean. It's 8 p.m.
If you're on the East Coast of America, it would also be the same time as us. Just supporting that out there.
Thank you, Sean.
You had Korean grandma kimchi for the first time on Friday and was life-changing. No, truly Korean grandma kimchi is life-changing.
Wait, what do you mean? You had my grandma's kimchi. What are you talking about? You just gonna pretend like you didn't go to visit my grandma in Korea? I see how it is.
I'm reading chat, Martin. I'm reading chat.
Oh.
I was like, are you talking to Joyce or are you talking to me? Because
you. Here is 9 p.m. Oh, Oh, you're further east than us? Okay, interesting.
Oh, what's not too late? You can grab a light snack.
Hey, we're
Hey,
eating this
if
late.
you're hungry, you're hungry. You gotta eat, you know?
Agreed.
But,
Agreed.
okay, so what I'm eating, so originally, so my first choice of delivery food was also closed. It was going to be Sarku, which is the chicken teriyaki place at the mall, which sounds super lame, but that's like that was like me and my dad's like favorite thing to order when he was like still single, divorced dad, very poor. Fire teriyaki, chicken teriyaki. Definitely not authentic by any means, but just was like the thing about like halal food, right? Chicken over rice. It's like a ton of calories for a very like low price, and it just tasted good. That's what that place is. But it was closed. So next best thing, my family also really loves Thai Kitchen. Shout outs to Thai Kitchen in on the Somerville Circle. Got the Pad Kimao Spice Level 5. And then
Cinco
my
Elefantes.
stepmom also, what?
Cinco Elefantes.
Yeah, 5 elephants. That is true. If they had a sixth elephant, I would go for it, but they can't make it spicy enough for me, unfortunately. And then my stepmom also made some cheukbokkeum for dinner, so I couldn't, not eat it, right? That would be disrespectful. So,
What is cheo? Sorry.
Bokum.
What is it?
oh, it's
Cheukbokkeum.
the spicy pork like stir fry.
Oh,
Here, I'll
and
show you.
wait, can you say that again?
Cheukbokkeum.
Cheo ukum.
So pokkum is just stir fry. So anything pokkum, right?
Oh,
And like
yum.
pokkum pap is fried rice in Korean. So pokkum is just like stir fry.
Oh,
But yeah, so it's this red stuff right here.
what's the thing next to it?
Oh, that's rice. We
Oh,
use so my family likes to put beans in our rice, so this is purple rice.
Mm-mm-mm. So I'm stuffing my face because I'm hungry. I want to recap all the dishes that we did for those of you who are just tuning in, so I didn't catch the whole month of
Oh,
streaming.
please do.
We started off with Egg Foo Young to talk about the Chinese Immigration Act and Irish immigrants in the 1800s, and then we moved on to talk about Vincent Chin for a bit. Vincent Chin is a man who died, who's murdered in Detroit in the 1900s, 1960s, I think.
1900s.
1960s, wasn't it? It was in the 60s, wasn't it? 1960s?
Was it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was.
Wait, sorry. What happened? Who?
Vincent Chin. Vincent Chin, wasn't he in the 60s?
I thought it was like in the 80s.
80s? It might have been the 80s.
Wait, Vincent Chin.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were arguing whether it was in the 1900s or the 1800s.
Yeah.
Guys. I was like, guys.
1982 is when he
82.
was when he died.
Okay, so
I actually thought it was much longer ago.
Then
I think it's the hair.
we made
But
chicken
that's
wings.
like such 80s hair. How could you
That is
like
true.
the big like poof and the glasses? Like Dad had those glasses, Sean.
Yeah, that's very true.
My dad also had those glasses. When he first came to America, there are pictures of me as a baby with my dad wearing those basically almost the same glasses.
Yeah, the 80s, and then we moved. So we did chicken wings to talk about that dish because he died in a. Well, it started at a strip club. Chicken wings and strip clubs are our thing. We also did a beet salad dish to talk about the Oxnard beet strikes in the early 1900s, 1903, I think. And what else did we do? We did two more things. We did most recent. Oh, we did David Fagan. We did a dish about
yes,
David
the collard
Fagan,
greens.
the collard greens dish, cooked in coconut milk and shrimp paste. To
I
talk about.
I think of all of them, I really want to make the ribs and the collard greens the most. Those
Yeah.
look so good.
They were delicious. To talk about
be
David
nice.
Fagan, who is known to have defected to the Filipino side during the Filipino-American War. He's a black soldier who defected to that side. And it's kind of relegated as a hero, an inspirational figure for Filipinos, but also a villain or enemy by the states. And then lastly, just yesterday, we did a black bean rib dish to talk about Latasha Harlins and her death by Soon Ja-do right before the LA riots or LA rebellion. And what was that?
1992.
92, that's right. That's right.
Wow, that was right before I was born. Oh, I just doxed myself. Wait, question,
Yeah.
Sean. I know you have an agenda, but I just wanted to ask: so this story about David Fayed? Because I thought that story was so cool.
Yeah.
Is that a story that? Because I've never actually asked any of my Filipino friends this, but like, is this a story that like people our age that are Filipino know of?
Depends. It depends on the people,
Okay.
as everything
Where
does,
did-
right? But I don't know if Filipinos in our generation would actually know much about David Fagan.
Okay.
Where did you learn about him?
I learned about a lot of these stuff through reading through my textbook teaching about Asian Pacific Americans, and also just like general studying throughout my years. But yeah, I would like scrum through like textbooks and like readings, just highlight moments of like history that I thought were really cool that could be related to food, or that like made me think of like, oh, this is a really cool like cross cultural connection that I can like do.
That's
Yeah,
what Sean did instead of studying for his chemi finals.
correct, correct.
Not
Sean is the
surprising.
golden
He'd be
child
like, "I
example
can't tell
where
you
he will use his
about these
textbook
chemical
after his
reactions, but I can tell you about this moment in U.S. history."
class.
Well, at least he was studying something.
You know,
That's
it's
true.
funny, Joyce. So Joyce says Sean is the golden child example, where he will use his textbook after his class. Funny enough, I actually didn't need that textbook for class. I bought that textbook outside of school. So there's one
Hey.
thing, and then two. I forget where I was going with this, but that
No,
was
he
that was
just
one
majored in like completely the wrong thing.
thing. Oh yeah. I didn't even major in like I hated history growing up. I hated history until I learned about Asian American history.
I actually loved history. I'm just so bad with names and dates. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, right? I think this is like pretty ubiquitous amongst millennials and Gen Z. We're just like, I mean, I don't want to speak for an entire generation of people, but I personally
It's
am
like
really
15
bad.
years of people.
Yeah, I'm really bad with names and dates, so I really love the stories. Like, I love like learning about like, if you go like you can keep going back and back and back and see how literally every action and person's life is connected, like cloud atlas type shit, right? Like you go back and back and back, and it's like this person on this side of the planet decided to like take a turn this way instead, and then that's how we got, I don't know, some colony, right? um so it was really fascinating to me to learn like why, just as much as like biology or like chemistry or like anything like that. It's a way of describing why the world is the way it is, and I thought history was super interesting. Unfortunately, never did well on the exams because they're like, memorize all these like battles and like treaties and whatever, and then regurgitate like the names and date. I was like, man, I can't remember this. So I did. I mean, my history teachers liked me, but my grades did not like me.
I was a really big fan of history also.
Hmm.
But I think learning more about history as I get older, it just makes me more and more angry.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I feel that. Retweet.
But yeah, I think it's super history.
Well, they
Super
paint such a
important.
rosy picture of everything, right?
Oh,
And
of
it's
course.
like when you're growing up, it's like, oh, like why is everyone so bitter about things? Like it's just like the things happen, and then you're like, and then you learn like what really happened, like what really went down, and like the motivations behind it, and you're just like, oh, that is so messed up.
I
Like,
know.
why would they do that?
I think just the fact that they still teach or maybe they don't still teach, but like the way they taught us about like Thanksgiving and like the Mayflower and all that shit, and it was like, oh yeah, like these people came over from England and they're super nice and like made friends with all the indigenous people.
So I'm not saying this to like justify any other country and what they do, but just to put it in perspective, right? Like people say other countries, brainwash their citizens, and that's not untrue, right? But the thing is, we also do that. Like as America, like
Oh,
with institutions,
Oh yeah.
we
yeah,
brainwash our
absolutely.
people to like rah rah rah, like everything that our country does is amazing. And I really believe that. As much as I believed in Santa when I was young, I was like, oh yeah, we're the good guys and we're out here trying to make the world a better place, which is not untrue all the time, right? Like there are a lot of very good things that have come out of this country, a lot of very good individuals, a lot of like awesome, like medicinal or technological, whatever. But so other people are doing that too, and it's like I think to paint ourselves as the beacon of light in an otherwise dark and savage world is a very Western centric, American centric view that we, as we get older, and that's why it's important. That's why we always say, especially colleges, right? I think a reason why people think that you get radicalized at college, it's not necessarily untrue, right? You kind of do. And the reason for that is because college starts to teach you like that there isn't one side to everything. They
Yeah.
start telling you to question things, and they start telling you that like, you know, it's perspective, right? And it's like once you start like learning the other perspectives, you realize like, oh, like it's not that simple.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely, definitely. I feel like I feel like we're, to your point, Martin, that like yeah, we're brainwashed in a way. Right? We are the product of our teachings and our upbringings, which are all systemic in nature, right?
On the devil's advocate, some brainwashing, okay, not brainwashing, but some indoctrination, I actually think is good, right? Like I think to teach young kids to aspire to be what they believe the U.S. is, can be, I think is great. Like I think, I do think we have to obviously acknowledge the only way we can be a complete package is to acknowledge where we've done wrong, to know not to do that again, right? And to not go down that path again. But I do think it is good to set a kind of vision of like the country that it could be great, right? It could be a force for good in the world. I think
Yeah.
that's fine. But to paper over the past like transgressions by this country, obviously this country is a very broad, individuals and institutions, whatever, right? All of those things we have to learn about them in order to not repeat those, uh, you know, wrongs, right? But
Yeah.
so on the one
Is
hand, like to grow up to kids, like to show them a version of the U.S. that we are good is okay to an extent, but we have to acknowledge where we've gone bad.
Yo, Miss
but isn't
Natty,
that
thank you for the
also
follow.
Hey, Miss
yay?
Natty, I wish I had some Natty
I
to
think I think that's who
cheers.
if I think that's who I think it is. Cheers to
I'm,
you. Cheers
yeah,
to
I'm pretty
you.
sure it's who I think it is too. Um, but to your point, Martin, isn't that also just the difference between like nationalism and patriotism? Like,
Uh, yeah, to an extent. I mean, I again, like, I think I actually like patriotism to an extent.
yeah, I
Um,
think patriotism is like, that's
as someone
it's
who,
good. It's like,
yeah,
you should it's a good thing to like love your country and to like want to see it like prosper and do well.
yeah,
Um,
just not at the expense of others, right?
yeah, versus like nationalism where it's like
Yeah, blind trust.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
and not question. So that's the problem, right? And I think that's something that we've seen time and time again, and it's really unfortunate. But people are very easily manipulated, myself included, right?
Yep.
I get targeted by social media ads, and next thing you know, I've spent like $300. I'm
Me.
very easily manipulated.
That's me.
If my friends like want to go do stuff, I'm like always down. I'm very, very suggestible person. But that being said, um, it's very unfortunate that there are people in the past that have taken advantage of this, right? And
Yeah,
they've done this to drive an agenda that is harmful
I
to
mean, people are
many
still
people.
doing this.
Oh yeah,
They have, yeah.
it's literally happening right now. Yes,
Yeah.
by many individuals around the globe.
Yeah.
Um, but to your point, I love patriotism, right? Like I'm someone who watches the World Cup, or the Olympics, I get teary eyed. When you get the underdog story of um, like there was a story, a headline where it was America wins 0-0 against England because it was our soccer team versus their soccer team or their football team. England obviously being a much better team than us, and us like drawing 0-0 was like a huge point of pride for us that year. And it was great. I was never more excited to see a game finish 0-0. But yeah, I mean, I love those kind of things. I love rooting for teams and all that, but you have to do that and still know that these people are not perfect. You have to be able to hold them accountable. You have to, in order to really get what's best for the country, you have to be able to question it and you have to be able to hold it accountable.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no like progress without like continuous questioning and asking and looking at different points of view.
Yeah, totally. I think part of the reason, at least, why I am making the food that I'm making and doing the things that I do is because of how much I love being an American, right? But I love what my idea of America is, not necessarily what other people's idea of America is. And there's fault in that statement, sure, but like I also think that like my idea of America is something that's like multicultural, right? Like built on immigrants, which
100%.
Like I think that's really the root of it. And so to really show my love for America, you need to combat those who are like taking that away or like kind of what's it called, like betraying that or like painting it in a different light. That's not the light that like you believe is truly patriotic, right? Like that's part of our duties as Americans, right?
I agree.
That's why.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Stacey. No, go ahead.
That's why I'll never understand the people who are like, well, if you don't like it here, then like just leave. I'm like, I like, first of all, like I never said I didn't like it here. It's like telling, like, because I've heard this from a lot of like adults and like parents, like that generation, and it's like, it's to me, it's kind of like they're saying, well, if your child is doing something wrong, you're just not gonna like say something or like correct them. You're just gonna let them like continuously like do bad things. It's like no,
if you don't like your child, you just get a new one.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I mean, my parents have told me that before.
Kick them to the curb.
Yeah.
I have been threatened with that.
Same though.
One's in the chat if you've been told that by your parents.
Three's in the chat if your parents actually did it because we have a little sister now. Just say.
Oh, but they would never say that to her.
No. I'm saying that she's the result of.
Oh, she's the new. Yeah. They tell her that every night as they everything Sean wasn't.
They actually do though. It's actually really funny. It's actually really funny that they actually really do that.
Like, don't turn out like them, Sophia.
You're found in the trash can.
You're the golden child.
She can put you back.
For her age, I mean, not even for her age. She's like a pretty dope individual, so that's pretty fair, honestly. But yeah, what I was gonna say was, and this is building off of both of your points, right? We're talking about patriotism, pride in your country, and like what we believe is like the American like ideal, right? And I'll go so far as to say that there are plenty of people in this country being extremely unpatriotic, extremely anti-American, anti-progress by being the way they are, by trying to restrict, the rights of certain groups of individuals that are not like them, right? Because that's not how we progress as a society. And in fact, that's how we regress. And that's one thing. So, Stacey, you mentioned we were talking about the kind of rose-colored glasses that we see American history in, especially being taught in school. And this is not to just rag on public schools system, by the way. I'm very proud of my public school education.
Me too.
I think if anything, yes, like they painted things in a rose-colored glass, but they also gave me enough like wherewithal to eventually, when I was old enough, be able to question and look at things critically. So
Yeah.
it's not all bad on
Do you,
their part. But my point specifically is that you have all these people who are being, sorry, up until about college, I actually just assumed, and I think this was also to a certain extent true, like economically speaking, we were taught that every year everything gets a little bit better, right? Every generation we as humanity get a little farther, right? Like
we
we
hope
make
so.
advancements. And that was true. At least it seemed true for me. You know, it's like every year, you know, your net worth is supposed to like increase by, you know, like 10%, right? Like you buy a house, it's supposed to go up in value. You go to high school, go to college, get a job, you can retire by 60 and live comfortably. Like that was always what was taught to us, right? And like, I don't want to get into the whole millennium versus boomer thing of like, oh, we can't afford to buy houses or whatever. That's a conversation for another time. But what I
Thanks,
really
Nightbot.
thought is that, okay, yeah, on the one hand, obviously you're younger, you're more shielded from like the real world, so maybe it never really was that good. But I do believe that there was a time where we had very steady progress, even if it wasn't monumental, very steady progress. I'm thinking like Obama era, right? Like from when I was born, you know, Bush Senior, Bush Junior, Clinton, Obama, right? Like it actually felt like things were getting better every year, right? Like people were kind of just chilling, doing their own thing. Obviously, it wasn't always chill, right? But I feel like there just weren't as many like societal issues that came at the surface. Maybe they were always there. Oh no, not maybe. They definitely were always there. But people had decorum, right? Like people knew not to like be outwardly racist. Like as a business, you couldn't be outwardly racist, right? Because are rules that you're supposed to um, respect, right? And like people weren't just like randomly killing or like punching each other for no reason. Not as much, I would think, right? Nowadays, it's just broad daylight, you know, no regard for any kind of norms or, you know, decorum. And it's really sad. And I think a big part of that is just a cultural regression. I think you think about anti-vax like sentiment, right? That's a regression in science and culture. Like culture, the fact that there is an entire group of people like this, and this is like a credible movement, you know, credible in the sense that there's a significant percentage of the population that believes this, is alarming, right?
Yeah.
And I think we have to look at this from a cultural perspective. It's regression, in my opinion.
I wonder if, like, to your point about, uh, people being punched in broad daylight and all of that, like, do you think it has increased or just our awareness of these things happening have increased?
Both.
I think both. I think
Both.
it has to be
Yeah.
both, yeah.
I think it's also like, you know, because Voldemort got into office and like made it okay, or people saw that it was okay to like be that way. But
Okay, it took me a second to like figure out if I actually heard you say Voldemort or if I was just like,
thou who shall not be named, you know.
Oh, he who must not be named.
He who must not be named. Yeah,
listen, that's a discredit to Voldemort.
when the Dark Lord
Voldemort
came
was one
to
of the
power.
greatest villains of all time, and you're giving this person way too much credit.
Yeah, you know, 45. Everyone knows.
The 45.
45. That's it.
You know, when he kind of gave everyone a green light to be like, because I think before that the general consensus was shame, right? And I've thought about this. I thought about this in the concept of upbringing as a shame-based culture versus a conviction-based culture, or largely Eastern influence. Eastern cultures are shame-based, right? And Western cultures are very like conviction-based. And what I mean by that is like, there's people who will teach you that don't do that because like it's embarrassing or it's like a shameful.
Bring dishonor on your cow.
Exactly. Shout out to Eddie Murphy. And then there's other people who are be like, no, like you do you and like people will celebrate you, right? And there's pros and cons of both, of course. But like I think America has always been a very conviction based. White America has always been a very conviction based society. And it was getting better to where we were becoming a shame-based society, but then the 45th came in and was like, nope, we are America.
No shame.
We are so great.
Okay, I will say
But
this.
I don't totally agree with that.
Yeah.
That like we were becoming more shame based. I like did not see that
Well, no, I
happening.
think we were going that way on the spectrum, but I don't think becoming shame based overall was. I don't think that was the goal, and I don't think
Yeah.
that's necessarily good either, right? I think
Agreed. Agreed. Agreed
yeah,
on that point.
I think actually, and this is what. So I think one thing that being Asian American or Pacific Islander heritage in America is one thing that most people, not everybody, but most people can relate to is this um, growing up, this dichotomy of having these Asian influences like philosophies and American philosophies, and how do you reconcile the two? Because in many ways, they're very different, right? So if it, if you're not able to fully grasp or like fully form these two influences into like a cohesive, like your identity that you're comfortable with, then that's what causes identity crisis, which a lot of people have, myself included, right? But on the other hand, I see this as a potential strength. um, you have more kind of worldviews to draw from, and yes, it's difficult, right? Because there's no real clear and obvious like model to follow. um, but once you are able to understand both, like, philosophies, and then really reconcile them and then decide
I got a
how
swag
much of each to
crisis.
take, yeah. Once you're able to do that, then you're able to become a more complete person. And that's why, for me, like, I've always prided myself in being 100% Korean and 100% American at the same time, right? Like, I I am able to take the best of both worlds. Hopefully, I mean, I take some of the bad parts of of each of them too. Nobody's perfect, but I think the ability to like really just like discern, like, oh, I like this parts about my heritage, or I like this parts about being an American, being someone who grew up in Western culture. That really gives you the opportunity to be a more. That's the very unfortunate thing is that a lot of um, people in this country are not very worldly. But I think that gives you an opportunity to be a very worldly person, right? It gives you a wider perspective.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed on that. I think like Kevin says I have a swag crisis. I don't know what you mean by that, but that's funny.
You have so much
You
swag
have
that you don't
so
know what to
much
do with it.
So much.
sweat.
So much swag. What
Swag
can we do
AZN.
about
surplus.
AZN, AZN.
But I think that's what's exciting about like our generation and all the younger generations. You know, like we are growing up in a time where like we see all of this like multicultural and like diversity, especially those of us who are have like multiple ethnic backgrounds or Asian American, etc. Like we are able to decide like what we want our identity to be. Like we are forging our own identity. And I feel like that hasn't really happened in generations past because it's like our parents, you know, they're from China, they came over here, they're Chinese, they like came with their Chinese identity. But us growing up as Chinese Americans, well, I'm just, specifically talking about Sean and I, like, yes, it has been very confusing and like, um, I've had to like grapple with a lot of identity issues also, but it's also like really exciting and like
Hmm.
cool to just be like, you know, I'm Chinese and I'm American, and like this is what that means to me, and it's not gonna be the same for what that means to Sean, even though we are siblings and we're Chinese, both Chinese American. The definition of that and our identities can be completely different from one another.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually had this conversation with a friend of mine or a couple friends of mine recently that it's kind of interesting that the way the world has come to like society as a whole, a lot of Asian Americans are coming into this like awakening right now, right? We can define ourselves. Truly, truly, we can,
Yes,
Natty.
yes, Miss Natty.
And so like it's kind of interesting that like different generations of Asian Americans are coming into this like awakening at this point in like American culture right now, because we're all at different generations, we're all at different points in our lives. We all see this awakening differently, right? Like my awakening into like Asian Americanness looked much different than like Stacy's or Martin's awakening into Asian Americanness, right? But it all kind of happened roughly around the same time.
After you, Sean.
What?
They're after you.
They're after me.
What did you do? What did you do?
Dang it, Sean!
Whoops. I will say, Stacey, that like it's like those points are definitely so interesting, but they're very like that's like the immigrant children and immigrant story, like not just like Asian Americans too, but then like you think of like the West Coast Asians who have been here for like multi generations, right? And then they look a certain way and act a certain way because they've been here for so long, because they assimilated a certain way, and so like their awakening also looks like completely different. And it's very, very fascinating for me to
On that note, I had a very interesting conversation with a friend too about how like suburban Asian Americans and urban Asian Americans are so different. It's hilarious. It's like okay, let me rephrase that. Urban and suburban is an oversimplification, but the real like cleavage is if you grew up in a large Asian enclave versus in an area where there were very few Asians, right? And I am a perfect case in point, because when I was first born and grew up, through elementary school in Delaware, there were like no Asians in my area. That's why I for the longest time I told people I grew up white. All my best friends were white, like everyone in my school was white. All my teachers, well, some African American teachers, but like black teachers and Hispanic teachers, but for the most part, not Asian. Let me put it that way, right? And even then, like in Delaware, it wasn't that much black or Hispanic either. It was mostly white. And then I moved to New Jersey, and I guess because of how I was originally, I originally grew up, all of my friends at first were also non-Asian, right? And it doesn't help that I moved into the part of town, which is like, there's no Asians around me, like geographically. It wasn't, and I was actually going to ask you guys this, because I can kind of pinpoint where my quote unquote Asian American like awakening happened. It was during high school. It was once I saw that there were Asians, and I again was not really friends with them at first, but through like clubs and just being in like the kind of classes we were in, I'll go ahead and say it, the honors and AP classes, because that's true. Just being around all these kids all the time, and you're like, yeah, study together and whatever, it's like, okay, like we eventually became friends, right? And it was once I started becoming friends with other Asians, and like like they would go to these clubs and they'd be like, oh, do you want to come to this thing? I didn't even know this club existed. I go there, it's just like all Asian people, right? And they're like eating just Asian food and like partying and stuff, right? And I'm like, what is this? Like, I didn't even know this was a thing. And like, I remember actually, shout out to my friend, guess I won't name them on stream, but Sean, you and I know them very well. Ceramics master now.
Oh, okay,
Yeah. So they were the first person to introduce me to boba, right? And I didn't know what that was, and they were selling it for like some club, right? And it was like something related to Taiwan. Like it was either like Taiwan like heritage, or I don't know what it was. Maybe it was a Taiwanese club or something, right?
Stacey knows them too.
But they were selling boba, and I was like, what is this? And they were like, oh, it's tapioca. And I was like, the most like Western reaction possible is like, that sounds disgusting. Like, why would you have balls of tapioca? Like, I was thinking like tapioca pudding in just floating around in tea. Like, that sounded so gross to me, right? And they're like, no, just just try it. I was like, all right, we'll try anything once. I tried it. I was like, oh my god, this is so good. Like, where has this been my whole life? Right? And like, it was in high school that I got introduced to, like, I know froyo is not actually like an Asian food, but like it's something that so many Asian people like eat, stuff like that. And like, yeah, it was really in high school that I started to actually care about being Asian, and like realizing that being Asian at the time is kind of cool, right? It was like when like K-pop was really starting to like take off in the US, right? So yeah, that's kind of when I first started to really embrace or not before I even the word embrace, like really even noticed my own Asian heritage. But I'm wondering like what it was for you guys. Like when did you start to actually care about the fact that you're Asian?
Yeah. Stacey, you want to go first?
Sure. I think I've always cared, or like at least noticed that, I am Asian. But I think similar to you, it like my like awakening first began in high school. Like in elementary and middle school, there were only like a handful of Asians, and like those were uh, like either like Chinese or Taiwanese. Like I don't think we had any Southeast Asians or like I think there were a lot of like uh, Indians also. But yeah, not a lot of like just not a lot like in general. But in high school, because I switched high schools,
Hmm.
there were so many more like Asian kids that I was able to like interact with and like hang out and like become friends, and like we had that like typical like Asian friend group.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was president of our Chinese club.
Hey.
a But I think it was at the same time I feel like I didn't feel like I was Asian enough even for like the Asian group.
Even though you ascended to the highest office. Do you think Barack Obama asked himself like, "Am I American enough?" I don't know.
Well, he didn't, but many others did.
That's you have to prove them otherwise.
No, just because I feel like I like everyone in like my group of Asian friends, they like knew like their mother tongue, and they're very like involved in like other like Asian things, and I feel like I wasn't as much. And like I wasn't in all like AP and honors. Like I was in some like regular classes too,
Hmm.
and so I feel like I didn't live up to that like model minority like Asian like student. So it's a really like I was like, yeah, like there's like all these like Asian people that like I'm friends with now, and we can like talk about um like Asian things. I don't know. But at the same time, I was like, oh, but they're like better Asians than I am because they're smarter, or like they play like piano and like violin and all that, like all that crap that was like fed to us as children that like we didn't even understand was like harmful. I like took all of that in and internalized it, and I was like,
Mm.
shit, like I'm a bad Asian, like. But like, what does that even mean?
Right.
How can you be a bad Asian? Like that's just like that's just what
You
you
can
are.
be a bad Asian, and there's only one type of bad Asian, and that is a self-loathing Asian.
Mm.
Or
Well,
one
then
that
I
wants
guess
to be
I was
white.
a bad Asian because
Wait, why?
I feel like I was a little bit
No,
self-loathing.
no, no, not self-loathing as in individually. Self-loathing as in
Oh, as in like the
anti-Asian.
collective.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Also, Andrew, yeah, I was gonna say that too. I was gonna say that too.
Also,
I was also gonna say that.
Oh, we went there, boys. We went there.
And
I mean,
I would also say Asians that say the N word are also in that category, but
And what?
Asians who say the
Asian?
N word are also kind of there.
Oh,
But
yeah.
that's a whole other can of worms.
That's another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I, as someone again who grew up in the suburbs of Delaware and New Jersey, I have very little to say on this matter. But word.
But I feel like um,
Wait, that's so interesting that you internalized all of those because I also internalized all of that, but I did that completely voluntarily. Like, no, like my parents never really pushed me to get amazing grades or anything. They wanted me to obviously work really hard, but I don't know. Like for me, a lot of that pressure was internal, and I think that was kind of ideal from my parents' perspective, right? Because obviously there are some parents who I don't know if enjoy is the right word, but like who are actively overbearing, right? Whereas my parents were like, yeah, we would rather not like force you to do this. We would rather you just want to do this, right?
yeah,
And so for me, it was like it's definitely like I was the one getting greedy myself for like doing getting good grades or like doing extracurricular activities. It was like it was a I guess it was a rat race that like I saw like put myself in, right?
hmm,
But whether it was like kind of like self-imposed or it felt external or whatever, the fact of the matter is that I only knew to put myself in that rat race because there was a rat race, right? Because there are people doing that, and I felt like, oh, like I want to be part of this.
yeah,
um and I wonder, actually, it was starting to get into some like therapy territory here, but I wonder if a big part, like how much of me voluntarily joining this rat race was in order for me to feel a part of something, right?
hmm,
Like this is like right when MySpace and like Facebook were becoming a thing, and yeah, we have subtle Asian traits now, which is amazing, and they've done a lot of writing about like how it's made people feel seen, like just through simply the act of sharing memes that are relatable, and like Asian specifically, right? And I think that's great. I think meme culture is great, but even before that, right? Like I think just there by the fact that there being any kind of social media, you get so much more visibility into what other people's lives are like, because otherwise you only know what you literally physically see when you see them, right? So now they're like posting about their lives like on social media, and of course we can get into like how much of that is filtered, how much of that is like
yeah,
like accurate. But in any case, like I think that really show like I guess like before all of that, I would have, if people asked me like what does it mean to be Asian American, if I when I was like 8 or 10 years old, I would have no idea. I would have
yeah,
absolutely no idea. I'm like, as far as I can tell, we're just like everyone else. We just, our parents are like from other places, right? Like
yeah,
that's the only difference. But and that in a sense is actually kind of ironically how it should be, right? Like that should be like the difference between us and everybody else, is where there really isn't one, right? It's just that our parents are, and not even all Asian Americans. Some Asian people have been here for generations, but yeah, it was like once I really saw what kind of like the meta, right? Like the kind of baseline of like what it means to be Asian American here was, I was like, yeah, I want to be part of that. I want to do those things. I want to have good grades. I want to go to a good school. Like I want to do those things.
yeah. I feel like those are all like very those are like goals that like I feel like most like kids or like students would have,
Hmm.
like regardless of like if you're Asian or you're an immigrant or whatever. Like I feel like most kids want to get good grades, want to go, you know, go to a good school.
Do you know your own brother? This guy did not care about getting good grades. What are you talking
Well,
about?
okay, but like like
Look at this
deep
guy.
like deep down, I feel like all like kids have been like, oh, like I want to do really well, like whether it's to go to like an Ivy League to like please your parents or to get into a school to get the fuck out of your house. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you mean.
like I feel like there's that's not really like a specific
Yeah, I agree.
like
There is nobody in America who thinks upward mobility is garbage, right? Nobody's like, fuck that. Like, I want to just be stuck I want to be born in my town, die in my town. My kids also born and die in my town.
I mean, those
And
they're
yeah, I don't
the.
think
I feel like
anybody's.
there are people like that
What
though.
about
Not
the
that like they
Burning
don't
Man
want
people?
upward
What like
mobility, but
Okay,
like
dying in your town is, some people love their town. That's great. Yeah, but I don't think there's anyone that's like, man, like I hope that there never comes a day when if I work hard I get rewarded for it. Fuck that. It's like I want to be just stuck in my socioeconomic lane forever.
I feel
That's my
like
dream.
people who go to
yeah.
Burning Man are kind of like that. Not that I
The
know
what?
people who go to Burning Man. are kind of like that, but
Burning
not
Man?
not that
Oh, I
not that
have
I've
no
ever
idea.
been,
No,
nor
I
do I
think
know
it's
anyone who has been to
very
Burning Man. But
prejudiced of you. You know, the attendees of Burning Man are actually extremely diverse, like
yeah, I've
surprisingly
heard.
diverse.
I've heard.
But I feel like Burning Man's got like been turning into like going towards like Coachella-esque with
Oh
like
yeah,
all
yeah.
of these like big name like celebs
Yeah,
and
And
it
they are
and
is.
rich as
whatnot
fuck.
going.
Interesting.
Yeah, and they are like rich as fuck.
That's true. They don't
No,
even
but
go
that's
up
what I'm
anymore.
saying. It's a lot of people that go there are like hedge fund managers that like for a week
Yeah.
they're like, nobody email me, I will not be reachable, and they go and like go do these crazy like
Isn't
this
it
like
backed
really
by
crazy
the
lawless
Is
BlackRock?
it
stuff.
I don't
backed by
know. I had
BlackRock?
no idea. Yeah, I
That
have no idea.
dang. Yeah.
I feel like I have heard that somewhere too, but I cannot confirm nor deny. I've never been, so I don't
No.
know.
Isn't
It looks
BlackRock
fun
a
though.
restaurant?
Minus,
Shut
like,
up, Kevin.
the heat.
Is it?
Shut up, Kevin.
Is that Hard Rock?
I'm pretty sure that's Hard Rock. You mean the cafe that's everywhere? Hard Rock?
Rock Cafe.
I'm super.
Like Jen.
No, he doesn't mean Hard Rock.
Wait, okay, I'm sure.
Black
I'm sure
Rock
there
Grill.
Rock
is-
Grill. Oh, that sounds.
I'm sure there is
sure.
a restaurant called Black Rock. That's not that ridiculous.
There's also a stone called Black Rock. Just putting that out there.
And there's also Black Stone,
Ah.
which confused the shit out of me
You
for many
uncooked
years.
steak on a heated black. Oh.
Oh, like the
Oh, like
Okay,
shabu
yeah.
shabu
Like-
type of deal.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Or not shabu shabu, but like the coal stuff. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That shit is lit.
That is pretty lit.
Cooler
More
than
cool than
Black
Black
Rock.
Rock Finance. Yeah, I don't know if they're cooking shit on
That is
rocks
true.
in Black Rock
I'd
Finance and
rather have
Investment
the steak
Management.
than the
100% would
than the
rather
fund
have.
management. Yeah, facts.
But
Do you have anything else, Stacey, to your story?
going, I don't remember what it was anymore. I'm thinking about steak.
Yo,
I guess going back to like mental health and
Hmm.
you know, I like personally my mental health this past month has been like a fucking roller coaster. Like
Same though.
and
Isn't
I don't
it
think it's not
always?
even been like this past month. It's like years, decades in the making.
I would say over half of our lives.
Yeah. Since we've been conscious, like, conscious beings and have learned to like take things in and whatnot. Yeah. Mental health. Real important. Go to therapy, guys. If you need it. Even if you don't think you need it, go talk to someone.
No, I'm
Oh, we're
glad
not
you
making
guys
this
both-
anymore, Nightbot, but thank you for telling us.
Nightbot actually gives me anxiety.
I know Nightbot's always watching.
So he's watching
Stacey,
us.
I will say this. I actually didn't understand anxiety, as in like I knew it existed and I obviously thought it was real. Like I obviously like acknowledged it, right? But I think like, and I've probably felt it too. But I think just like looking at the like definition of it, I'm like I don't. That's really difficult to like grasp. Like, is this anxiety? Like whatever, right? But yeah, definitely. As I got older, I was like, oh, I totally get what that is, and this is what it is. Like, I think like because
Yeah.
I'm a classic like textbook overthinker, right?
Oh yeah.
And I think that's probably why I didn't know what it was, because for me that's just like normal, right? It's just like overthinking things. It's just that's the norm. That's
Oh.
just another day at the office, right? But it was like. I think it was like when I started reading. I think instead of reading like the definition, you read like people's kind of examples, like experiences of anxiety. The thing that resonated with me the most was you worry about something, and then you start freaking out that you're worrying about it, and because you're worrying about it, it stresses you out, and you're like, I need to stop worrying about it. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that is very relatable. It just got very meta, and I was like, oh, that's anxiety. I see. I understand.
It's like I understand now.
Yeah.
This is me to a T.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, if you're anxious or if you experience anxiety, I don't know, Stacy. Well, since we are on the topic of mental health, I mean, other than going to therapy, for example, is there anything? Of course, if you don't have to share if you don't want to, but if is there anything that you kind of, is there anything that you do to like kind of take a step back, acknowledge that you're stressed or or you're experiencing anxiety, and is there anything you do to kind of cope with that, like on your own?
So yeah, I've been on this like mental health, like my personal mental health journey, like actively since I would say last December.
Mhm.
Um, and I've learned a lot of like mindfulness techniques to help
Okay.
uh, deal with my stress and anxiety and like overall mood and well-being. So that's like things like meditating,
Mm.
different like breathing techniques, like journaling, and just like fucking crying, like just letting it out like you need to. Like I not kidding when I say I've cried the most I've ever cried like this past month.
Oh,
Like
really? This past month
yeah,
specifically? Okay.
yeah. Like I I think I would, yeah, it would definitely be like 80% of the weeks
It's only June
I've
1st.
cried. Like,
It's only June 1st. Oh no.
yeah. So that's where my mental health is, guys.
Happy Mental Health Awareness Month.
I will say that I think crying is I have a love-hate relationship with crying. First of all, I'm a very easy crier. Like I'll cry at like
Same.
any movie, literally any movie, right?
I've seen
I'm
Martin
a
cry
sucker
at
for
many
like
movies.
emotional moments in movies, but that's different, right? That's not like really like me dealing with my issues, I guess. But I do like a good cry every once in a while. I actually haven't cried in a really long time, and it's not because I'm avoiding it or anything. I think like I don't know. I think in a way, and this is very kind of capitalist of me to say, but I've been too busy, honestly. And it's like that's not to say that you're not busy, right? Like I think you're just prioritizing yourself or like you're more introspective and thinking about that a little more than I am. I'm just like I'm just like, oh, like whatever. I got shit to do. Like I can't really sit here and think about this, and it's probably not great. It's probably I should be dealing with it more. But I will say that my approach to my personal mental health too is that I actually me not getting that emotional is actually a goal that I had for myself because I came from being I think a little bit too I think like you and I are like going in opposite directions a little bit,
Yeah.
right? Like for
I
me it
think
was
I
like
was like not emotional at
yeah,
all.
yeah.
And then now I'm like hyper
You're embracing
emotional.
it. Yeah, yeah. No, and that's good. If you feel like that's what you need to do, then that's good. Like for me, I was like, I am letting things affect me too much. It's debilitating, right? It's yeah, it's debilitating. Is really what it came down to. And I was just like, I need to take a chill a little bit, right? And I think I've actually been pretty good about with the last like 2 years or so. I've been like mellowing out a little bit, which is good. Me mellowing out a little bit is still like I still cry at movies. I still I'm a big hugger. I'm a very emotional person. I like to tell people how I feel about them and stuff. But I think it's like it's a better mix for me personally. I think.
Yeah. I mean, we all have our own journeys and,
Yeah, love you,
our,
Stacy. Love you,
you
Sean.
know,
Love you guys.
love you
For real.
guys. Love you, Natty.
Love everyone. I am not a
But
crier. I don't cry,
You're
but I
not a
do
hugger.
get
Is that what
sad.
you said?
I'm not a
what?
crier, but I do get sad.
Oh, you're not a crier.
Yeah, I'm not a crier. I do get sad though.
Oh,
I
I've only seen you
acknowledge when I
cry
get
once
sad.
ever
Oh yeah,
in my
yeah. That was.
entire time of knowing you.
Yep.
Only once.
Yep.
You've probably seen me cry at least once a year.
Anytime we watch a movie together.
Oh, man.
No, I cried during fucking Minari.
Yeah.
Oh, same.
You cried during the
That was
farewell.
a no for me. I was like, why are you doing this to me? No spoilers, but like, oh my god, like,
Bye, Natty. I think that
Bye,
means you're leaving.
Natty.
good night.
Take care.
Thanks for chilling with us.
Yeah, cried during Minari. Cried during the farewell.
The farewell.
Cried during.
Oh, yeah. No, honestly, like, this is obviously
Cried during Rhea.
we're called My Sweet Grandma for a reason. Right? Like, anything having to do with family drama like that, but especially like for me, it's dads and grandmas. They're the two. Like any kind of dad drama or like grandma drama, it really hits home for me.
Yeah, any like family oriented thing, definitely grandparents, and also like when I see like little children cry, I like immediately start crying.
I think I just cry if I see people. I don't think it has to be
Yeah.
kid. I think if like a grown ass man starts crying, I'm just like, oh shit. Like,
Oh, it depends though. Sometimes if I see like grown people cry, I'm just like, fuck you, asshole. Deserve to cry.
I think, yeah, it depends on why they're crying, right? If it's like, I'm trying to think of like Pursuit of Happiness. Will Smith.
Yeah.
Well, that's a dad thing, right? It's like a parent thing. It's like him and his kid, and they're like really poor trying to make it, and he's crying because he feels like he can't. Everything he's doing is not enough, right? And that's really sad to me. Like, that's why I cry. But
Yeah. Sean, I'm curious if you are open to talking about it, but I like you. We postponed the black bean a day.
Yeah.
You were taking a mental health break.
I was.
You're open to talking about that.
Yeah. It's been a really stressful work week. I've been hella busy with work and just been very overwhelmed with work, and I just needed some time off. I think in culmination of that, I've been like really struggling on the dating front, like so that was kind of getting to me a little bit. But mostly just being overwhelmed with work and just feeling like I really just needed a day where I just like wanted to do nothing and like
that was me all Memorial Day weekend. I did absolutely nothing.
Yeah. I was recovering from some excursions, some debauchery the night before as well.
Of course.
Well, was the debauchery fun at least?
It was fun. It was a fun night of debauchery. I love debauchery.
A little degen is actually good for the soul.
Yeah, I think so too.
That's true. I would agree.
But yeah, I think.
Speaking of which, you can't see it, but I got
soju.
Well, whiskey.
Oh, whiskey.
Lefroy.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Anyway, sorry. Continue.
Yeah, I just like recognized that I really just need the day off, and I really just need to like do nothing. I didn't want to worry about things, and I like was like, whatever. Like, let me. If I think there's just moments where you have to recognize that like, fucking take a day off. Fucking don't do anything. The world's not gonna end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your world might end earlier if you don't, right? Like that's like
true. That is true.
Dang, you need to put that like on a T-shirt or something.
No, I'm glad you did, and I'm glad you. I mean, I think that's like we feel comfortable enough. I mean, yeah, there will be situations where you feel like you cannot just take a day off, right? Like maybe in some professional situations or whatever it is. And whether that's self-imposed pressure or whether it's actually sometimes you just can't do that. It happens like that. But I think with us, we're comfortable enough to be able to tell each other that like, hey, like I need this time to myself, and no one was like, yo, like what the fuck, like
Yeah.
Like we had the planned thing, like how could you do this kind of thing? I saw that and I was just like, dude, honestly, same. Like I'm down.
Yeah. Good for you. Like I was like, yeah, John, like take your day.
Bed. Yeah, I hadn't gotten out of bed since like 2 p.m. I was just chilling in bed, and then I was like, oh, it's 8 p.m. Time to turn into the stream. And then I was like, why isn't the stream on? And then I went on to the story, and I was like, oh, it's tomorrow. Nice.
Nice.
You really did Martin a favor there.
I was like, I'm pretty down to just keep chilling in bed. I literally moved all of like for 5 minutes.
That was me on Sunday as well. I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna sleep all day, watch some movies, because I haven't watched like I haven't like sat down and enjoyed a movie in a while, and I love enjoying movies.
That's good.
So yeah, I just took the time that I needed for myself. It wasn't anything crazy, I don't think. Nothing too out of the ordinary or nothing too like wild, but I am just getting better at recognizing and being okay with like saying, oh, I need some time off. I need a break.
Well, I think that's the key, right? I think you want to be taking time out before it gets to that point where it's crazy,
Yeah,
right?
preventing
Before you
character.
get to the point where it's like, if I don't take this time out, I'm going to explode, right? Like
Yeah.
you want to stem it, before it gets there. On the other hand, you also want to exercise discipline, right? And not getting too used to, letting yourself off off of your responsibilities. Like anytime, something. I'm not saying that that's Sean, because I know Sean is an incredibly hardworking person, but just in general, right? It's like you don't want to get too used to like, cutting yourself slack all the time, right? Because then you get to a point where you're kind of like running away from your responsibilities or whatever it is, right?
Yeah. I always think about it like I'm such an intentional person, or at least I try to be. And part of that is what's up, Nelly Kapowski? How you doing? We're talking about we're kind of recapping our Heritage Month, and now we're talking about some mental health stuff because the month of May was Mental Health Awareness Month. But welcome to the stream. Welcome.
Welcome.
I was going to say that I think like I'm a very intentional person, and I try to be, thus being more of an intentional person. But I always think of like, hey, like if I'm choosing to take a day off for something, then like I need to make that my intention. And then if I'm choosing not to take a day off or something, or if I like am choosing to do work, then like that's my intention for the day, right? And so like that's been really important to me as well. Just being
That's true.
very
You don't
cognizant
want
and
to
aware.
like soldier on, but then only give your work like 20% or something.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Also, Sean, on that note of being intentional,
I love you too, Nelly.
your mic is not your nice mic is not active. It's your laptop mic right now.
Nah, this is my USB mic.
It don't sound like it.
How about now? Does it sound better?
Oh yes, never mind. It's because I'm on the Zoom with you. I just realized that.
Guys, today I am the tech master, and Martin is.
True.
I'm quite impressed with that.
You're gonna make me cry. Oh, let it out. Let it all out.
Yeah, I think like the key is like just to be present in everything you do.
Yeah.
Like I think that's for me at least, that's the ultimate goal. Like some days are definitely easier than others, but that is life, and hopefully one day it'll just be easier and easier to be be present, be intentional.
I think,
and you wouldn't even have to like think about it.
Yeah,
one day it'll just be who you are and how you are.
Yeah, I think life never gets easier, but you learn how to live life better, so that makes it easier, right? Like if we're talking about like gaming terms, because we're on Twitch, right? Like the game doesn't change, but like your tech skill improves. The way that your skill level in the game improves. Yeah. Your mechanical skills.
One day you'll beat Rainbow Road without falling off.
Let's go.
You'll beat Rainbow Road by knowing where to fall off on purpose.
For the strats.
Shit.
For the strats.
200 IQ plays only.
Five head.
But yeah, I think for me, so I'm totally on board with all of this. Like, I think a big part of my personal, like, I guess mental health, or it's not just mental health, right? It's like a kind of whole
life journey.
Yeah. So a big part of that is like definitely trying to be a master of my own destiny more than, I think like living passively is, so there's trade-offs, right? So I think living passively while you're less guaranteed, or there's no guarantees, but like you're less likely, let's put it that way, less likely to get to where you want to get to. But also when things happen to you, or like you don't get your way, you're kind of like, yeah, but I didn't really try, so like of course that's what happens. It's less disappointing, I guess, right?
That's you protecting your ego.
What's that?
I said that's you protecting your ego, not you specifically, but like people.
Yeah, no, I know. No, it is, and And then because it hurts so much more when you really actually really wanted something and
You
you
gotta
did
put in work.
what you perceive to be your hardest, like you put your hardest effort into it and you didn't get it. Because if you didn't try, then you're like, well, yeah, like I mean, I was never gonna get that, right? Like that's to be expected. But if you really, really, really tried and you still didn't get it, you're like, oh, I'm actually just
Science is real.
not good enough for this, right? Or like whatever it is. But I think even with that, I mean, I'm becoming more and more of a results oriented person, less about the how we got there kind of thing. So if really at the end of the day there's something that you want to happen, you kind of have to be intentional about it, right? And that's the only way you're going to maximize the possibility that it goes your way.
And I've been like being intentional about like making it happen, but like being intentional about like how you make it happen. That's something that I've been working on a lot recently.
Okay, tell
Like,
me more.
yeah, like I mean, I think about MSG even. Like I think this is a perfect example for it. But we've talked throughout the years of all the different things that we could do and all the things that we want to do and things like that. And I spent a lot of time just thinking about, okay, well, like what's actually the best thing for me to do right now? And like, yeah, I have an intention with the end goal in mind, right? And like I have that intention and like I know why I want to do something, but like now I need to think about like what is gonna give me the most pleasure doing and accomplishing my goal, because there are many paths to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's up to me now to find that path, and explore different paths to do it, right? And so like that's the intention on how, and really thinking about, okay, like as opposed to yeah there is merit in like trying everything, but then there's also like that can also lead to a lot of like burnout, a lot of like failures, right?
Dude, that's me though.
Yeah.
I'm the try everything guy. I'm
Exactly.
the try guy. That I should be a try guy.
You should be a try guy.
But you know, like for me, I've always thought about like, okay, like if I know that I want to do this like in my life, then like I have like a lot of my life ahead of me, and like I can spend like there's no rush for me right now, and I can spend time to think about, okay, what makes sense for me to do right now actually, right? And like Twitch is a perfect example of that, right? Like it made sense for me to do Twitch because I didn't want to learn video producing on my own, right? I wanted like a pretty easy setup. I wanted to get content out, right? So like Twitch was a very easy solution to that idea, right? As opposed to like
Was it?
um in my mind it was, and I will still go on record today and say that it is easier than for me learning how to edit a YouTube video and film a YouTube video by myself, right?
So I would love to see that happen. Maybe if we get has a subscriber goal.
The sub goals.
Oh my god.
Me to
sub
try to
goal
film
and
and
have
edit
Sean
a video by
Film,
myself.
edit, and produce his
No,
own
we can
YouTube
do it.
video.
We can do a contest where Sean and I start with the same base footage.
Oh
We see what we come up with.
man, that would be amazing.
The
Oh
funny
my
thing is, I
God.
feel like this day and age, like aesthetic being what it is today, I feel like there will be a huge like percentage of the population that will actually prefer Sean's method. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna be sitting there trying to make it like fucking like Eater or like like Nat Geo, like oh.
You'll be like super like artsy, and Sean's gonna be like.
Well, it's not
These
even
are the
gonna be
important
like
parts.
that. It's just going to be like the pacing and like the like whatever. Like everything's gonna be like kind of like awkward, and I feel like people are gonna. It's gonna be so memeable. People are gonna love it.
Sean is the most memeable.
I think we're both pretty memeable. I think like like in my own try hard kind of way, I'm like pretty memeable, and then John is, I don't know, he's just a goof.
I'm just me. I'm just how I am.
I think actually in that way we're actually so different. Like I don't like, obviously John is like good at what he does, and he obviously is like a perfectionist in his own right too. But I feel like I don't know. I would not use the word try hard to describe Sean. Like, you know what I
I
mean?
think you two are like two heads of the same coin, or two sides, whatever that saying is.
You
Two
think
sides
so?
of the same coin.
Okay.
Because like you guys are very similar, but like very different. In like the most entertaining ways.
That is true. It is kind of like if you split one soul into like two bodies, right? Because like, yeah.
I know, Martin. I'm a whole ass person. I think you're a whole ass person.
Wait, what?
I said I'm a whole ass person. I think you're a whole ass person. I don't think we're two halves of a soul.
Oh no no, but I'm thinking about like we both like degeneracy, but then Sean is like just old, and I'm like forever young. You know?
Sean's just old.
Yeah, he's like, okay, that's enough degeneracy. I'm gonna go
I'm
home
tired
now.
now.
I'm tired.
I don't have that in me. I'm literally the last person every time. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's it's a gift. You know, I just
This,
get home when
Sean
everyone
has like
else is asleep.
this is why I throw
Sean
house
has like
parties.
old man energy.
So I
Martin
throw.
has like 21-year-old
Forever young.
energy.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really funny because I feel like I've always had this energy, and Martin's always had that energy. It's
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's
for as long
true.
as we've
You
known
know,
each
I've
other, I
always,
feel like that's been the case.
yeah. I mean, I love it. I love, you know, I mean, it's got its drawbacks for sure, but I don't know. I think, but the thing we share though is still like pretty all or nothing. You know, it's like if we're doing it, I mean, we're doing it.
I think that we're both generally down for a lot of things too, so
Yeah, yeah,
that also helps.
yeah. You know, I'm coming to find that this is like not particularly easy to find in people, like that trait. I think like so okay, because you brought up like the dating thing, right? So I find it like very funny that people will put on their dating profile that like they want like that they themselves are open-minded, or like they look for that in a partner, like someone who's very open-minded, right? And I look at their profile, and of course I'm obviously judging a book by its cover, right? But I'm like, there is nothing in this profile that suggests to me that you are open-minded, right? I'm like, open-minded in the sense that like maybe you're down to try like whatever restaurant or like cafe, right? Like, but like you see the people on there, they're like, oh, I'm down to try anything. I'm like, do you mean that though? I don't think
That's like
so.
a typical like dating profile,
Oh no,
like
I know.
bio BS thing.
This is why I
And
don't go on
also, I'm
apps.
so sorry you two still need to. Well, I'm sorry, Sean. You still need to date. I don't know how you feel about it, Martin. I think
What do
I
you
would
mean? You know?
just.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, it sucks.
um.
Dating
Yeah,
hard.
I don't think I could do it anymore.
Dating
Listen,
I
be
would just
hard.
be like,
it's hard for me because I basically only ever get like feelings for people that I'm already very close to.
mm,
So the friend zone is a very very familiar place for me.
mm.
I call myself a dirty friend dater. I've like labeled myself that.
Oh yeah. Oh, so okay, so we do
What's
have
that
that in
even
common.
mean?
Just that
A
that
dirty, say a dirty friend dater?
yeah. So I'm like I myself am like a dirty person because I date friends. That's what like that's saying.
I mean,
But why is that dirty?
it's stigmatized.
No, it's the
stigmatized.
stigma. Yeah, it's the like oh my god, you're dating
Yeah,
their
Sean, I
friend.
get you. I
Yeah.
get you. Yeah, it's not that we think it's dirty. I think it's great. I think it's actually super wholesome.
I love
I
dating my
think like
friends.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think like why would you not want to, you know, why
Like, don't you want the person you're dating to be your friend? Like,
I do,
Yeah,
yeah,
so-
I
so-
feel like that's.
well,
I
think
thought that was like a commonplace.
I think the thing is that
not?
like
Like-
oftentimes people are like, oh, like you meet and then you check out the vibes, and if the vibes are like very platonic, then they kind of stay very platonic, or if they like
yeah.
are a little like ambiguous, then you explore a little bit.
But it's beyond that, right? You're talking about meeting a brand new person and then getting to that point. I'm talking about like realizing 5 years into a friendship that like, oh my God, I'm in love with this person.
No, that's also me.
No, that's what no, but that's what I'm saying. You're describing that like that thing about seeing the vibes and seeing where it goes. That's if you meet someone like relatively new. I'm talking about, and I know you know this too, but like the reason he says dirty. I mean, I don't say that, but the reason he says that is because it's stigmatized. Because, and to be fair, I understand. Like a girl explained this to me, right? And I was like, okay.
Wait, please explain this to me. Right?
Yeah.
I've never heard this term before.
No,
it's not a term.
it's not a term.
It's literally
It's a Seanism.
It's just
a-
Sean. It's okay. I've heard this Seanism.
But the reason why I understand what he's saying without any explanation is because I've been okay. So here's the explanation, right? Think of it this way, like for a girl, right? I mean, and I'm only speaking about this because I got a girl's perspective, me being a straight man, right? I was like, like, what's the deal with like, people are like cool with this idea of like falling in love with your friends, right? And they were like, yeah, I mean, because this happens to girls all the time where, oh, okay, I thought the stream cut out, where, you're like sitting there vibing, like you've known this guy for like a couple of years, like you're like, oh, like we're friends, is someone I can like confide in, and there's like a platonic relationship. Like this guy likes me for my like companionship, right? And then it turns out that actually he's been secretly in love with me this whole time, and like he has like intentions beyond just being friends. And then multiply that by like 10. Like 10 guys have like confessed that they like me, right? It's like, oh, so I really don't have any friends. I'm just like, people just want to like be like see me in a certain way, like which is not platonic, and I can see how that could be like disappointing, if not like tiresome for girls, right?
Sometimes girls just
I
want
get
guy
it.
friends,
What?
I said sometimes girls just want guy friends,
Yeah, exactly. I get
Yeah.
that. And then you kind of overstep that boundary. Maybe you try to make a move, like try to make your intention known, and they're like, "Oh fuck, like that's not what I wanted," right? And obviously, as the guy making that move, that feels bad for you. But as the girl who thought that you had a friend, who now it's awkward, right? Like now I have to, like how painful would that be for you as the girl, if oh, like
You
I actually really
got
care
a
about this person. I
friend
don't want to
in
make
me.
this guy sad, but I can't give this guy what he wants from me. Like I don't want that kind of relationship with this person. So I have to be the
Mm,
one who tells him no, right? And that sucks. I get it.
yeah.
It's just
I mean, that
very
definitely sucks
unfortunate.
on both
Yeah,
ends.
it's unfortunate for everybody involved. I get that. That doesn't make me feel much better about it, right?
Yeah.
But
I feel like I have never had this experience before.
He's like,
There's-
I feel like,
well, I feel like you also got fairly lucky. I mean, like just very early on knowing like who your partner was going to be.
I wasn't like that
Preach.
early, man.
Preach.
How many years has it been? It's been years.
Yeah, it's been like 7 years.
Yeah, fuck out of here. I think Sean. I don't know about Sean, but for me, I've never had a relationship last longer than 2 years.
Yeah, same.
I don't think I've actually even had a relationship last longer than a year, like
Oh,
romantically.
I've had two.
Yeah.
I've been on a 2 year
You've
stint.
had two. Oh, wait. I know one. I was like,
Yeah.
what do you mean you've had two?
No,
Wait,
2
no.
years. 2 years. 2
Oh,
years.
okay.
I've had 2
Oh.
years.
Okay.
2 years. I've also had
It's like,
two.
what have you been keeping from me, Sean?
A lot. Don't you know?
I know. But
I love how this just became like dating.
dating, I know.
That's
Maybe
big
that should have been
yikes.
our like next stream.
Dating? Question mark?
Sean, we should just have a content vertical where it's just us talking about fucking.
Isn't that the podcast? Isn't that what the podcast is? That's like the
yes, that's
Yeah.
LSD podcast. It's actually nothing to do with food. It's
No,
actually
it's
just
just us.
Yeah,
just talk about life.
Just your two dating.
Wait, and then you can be the person who is fascinated by whatever bullshit.
I know. I'm just like, what is going on now? What? Like my
The meta
quick
has changed.
foray into like dating apps. Yeah, it was very brief. I did it as a joke, mostly.
And was it funny?
It was pretty funny when I started to fuck with people on there.
Why? There's people like me on there who are trying
No, like if it was actually like a nice person and like someone, like we could like vibe or even be friends, I wouldn't be like addicted to them.
Okay.
But it was like the people who are like unsolicited dick pic or like super like creepy messages. Then I'm just like,
Oh,
then I would
dude,
just troll them.
I will say that one of my like least favorite things about Hinge is that you can't send photos, and I know why. It's because of people like that, right? But like I just want to send like memes and gifs. Like that's I communicate through memes, and I can't. It's very annoying.
It's very hard. It's very hard.
It's super annoying. I'm like,
Yeah, I can't believe like the amount of well, I guess I can, but the amount of dating apps out there now.
oh, they're like all owned by Match Group.
Oh,
Most
like
of them.
Match.com, like
Yeah.
Match Group.
So
Okay.
Match owns like Tinder, Hinge.
Oh,
Yeah. The only
from the outset, or did they buy
no
them?
through
Yo,
through
in a yellow
M&S.
flash. Thank you for the tier
Yay!
1. Thank you
Thanks
for
for
the.
the-
Ooh, thanks for the subby.
Thank you for the tier 1.
Just became a dumpling. Welcome to
You
the
did.
family.
Welcome to the
Yes.
dumpling family. You're a certified dumpling. So
You
I'm
can
telling you,
pick
we
the
should have
type
changed
of
it.
dumpling you are.
we should have done the certified dumpling TM. I think that would have been hella funny.
Certified dumpling. Yeah, we can change
TM.
it.
You gotta do the TM next.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Did we get through our agenda for today?
I don't think so.
I mean, we're just talking. You know, it's
we
fine.
like most of it, but I think
We covered
there
a
are
lot.
I mean, we
couple
definitely
other
We covered a lot.
covered
topics.
the heck out of mental health. That we did very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't share my foray into Asian Americanness.
Oh yeah, that's right. We got hella sidetracked.
all good. Yeah, it's kind of funny because like I feel like even as a kid, I always knew I was Asian. You know, like
Really?
even yeah, like in yeah, right. Surprisingly, right? No, in like grade school, like middle school or like elementary school, like I was the type of kid who would like walk down the hallways and like for like Chinese New Year, Lunar New Year, in like the cultural garb and like really be like in it, right? Like really be about it.
Oh really?
Wait, I don't remember you dressing up.
Yeah,
Lunar
I
New
dressed up.
Year.
I had a little cap and like a vest, a red and blue vest, and we did
That's
the dragon
Wait,
thing.
but this was like when you were like a toddler.
Yeah, this
Like,
is well in school, elementary school. You know, first to third grade, K through 3. Those
okay.
years
So
we
I'm
did
like,
that.
I know what
K through 2.
outfit you're talking about, and like you're quite tiny
Can we
when
can we
you
Yeah.
wore
find
that
pics of
outfit.
this?
K-
Are there
K-
pics of this?
K through
Probably.
2/3 to
Probably.
5. I think probably more closer to 3 to 5 is when like I was like did that for school, and then like in middle school 6 to 8 like I had like a small group of Asian friends, really just like one or two other people, and we would literally like shout like at each other like when we saw each other like Asian, you know, like and just like celebrate that, right? Like celebrate that we were Asian, like we were very loud about that.
Wait, you were not Bridgewater, right? In
No,
middle school?
not until
It's
not until
only
high school. Yep.
Okay.
And then but like I did only have a few, like very few Asian friends. But like I don't know. I was never really like thought about, or like race wasn't really like a talking point too much. Besides like, oh my god,
Yeah,
like woo, we're Asian, we're cool, right? Like. And like even that was like reinforced in my days at like Easy Video, right? Like we used to joke like, well, what's the worst kind of Asian? Caucasian, right? You know, like we literally
Oh shit! I forgot about that joke.
yeah, like
That's a
this,
good
I was like in my single digits and I was making that joke, and like so it was like very reinforced to me like at an early age that like being like I always thought you being like I was like, oh cool, like I'm Asian, like oh, that's cool, you know, like whatever, right? Didn't help my life circumstances, didn't like hinder my life circumstances, you know, like didn't associate my Asianness with my life circumstances. But I think I went to the same high school as everyone here, and that high school is like a third like Asian.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Which is a lot, and it's a large school district too. And like then I was like, oh wow, like I just suddenly have a bunch of new Asian friends, and now I'm in like cultural clubs, which is pretty cool. And I was just like, okay, cool new friends, like people who kind of get it and like have similar backgrounds, some similar upbringings, and like we can talk about these things. But like in general, I was just like a student, you know, I was like a very average, like semi above average student, right? I felt like I was, you know, very like nothing special, right? And then I think college is when I had like my like woke moment of like Asianness of like, oh, this is what it means to be like Asian. You know, like I learned about, and I remember this moment very, very specially because I learned about Fred Korematsu through like a student org. And it was the first time I really learned about Fred Korematsu. Fred Korematsu was, for those of you who don't know, he is like one of the few people, and definitely one of the most well-known people, who like fought against Executive Order 9066, the internment of Japanese Americans. And like he fought against the U.S. or Korematsu v. U.S. And I didn't take APUSH, but AP U.S. History, and I know that in AP U.S. History they you did cover like things like that. But for me, my history classes, all I learned about Japanese internment was a small paragraph at the end of the textbook, and here I am sitting in college, my sophomore year of college, and I was like, whoa. I don't remember Japanese internment. I'm like, I learned that it like wasn't that bad. Like it's literally the words that I heard. Like, oh, it wasn't as bad as like what Nazis did to Jews, right? And yes, like
Which,
don't
to be
compare.
fair, is
Yes,
technically true.
exactly, but like not to diminish, right? Not to diminish what we did, right? What we as Americans did, because it's like, why? Who cares about like whose injury is worse? Like, just fucking help both people, like.
Well, yeah, that, and you're also comparing yourself to like the global evil at the time.
It's
So
all
it's like,
bad. Yeah, exactly, Nelly.
yeah, it's like, oh, we weren't as bad as those guys. It's
Yeah,
like, well, okay,
no.
but you also went to war saying that this was like the moral like injustice of our generation
Yeah.
or of that generation. So
Yeah, so like I had like that kind of awakening there, and like I just like kind of really went into it because I think for me a lot of it had to do with like mentorship, like like the
mm,
people in my life that like showed me the way, and like some people who cared about this stuff, some people who didn't care about this stuff. I just
mhm.
I just ended up finding it
It's
really
all
interesting.
bad.
It's all
Yeah, it's
bad.
all bad.
It's all bad.
But like,
Facts.
I mean, for me, like my favorite thing about being Asian was like all the food that I got to eat. Like I
Oh
loved all
yeah.
that, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
like that's what carried me through all these things, and like my understanding of like activism and like social justice and just like how to be a good person is all through food, is all through my understanding of food, because I'm just like, oh
Mm.
yeah, that makes sense. Like if I want to feed someone, I'm just trying to feed everyone. I don't want to like only feed some people, right? If I'm trying to eat something, like I want to eat all kinds of food, right? Like not like
Oh
boiled
yeah.
down that dumbly, but like or that simply, but like similar in like I understood a lot of things just through my experience in food, both in like serving in restaurants, but also in like cooking and like cuisine.
Mm.
So like all of that kind of went into it. So it's really interesting for me to see and like learn about all these things. Like obviously, I think I have moments sure where I like can be like, oh yeah, like I resonate with that. Like my upbringing was similar to that, or like, oh yeah, like I definitely have those moments where I was like, oh, like I'm the only Asian person in the room and like whatnot, and like I feel uncomfortable. But all in all, my upbringing was like pretty chill. Like I never really got made fun of for being Asian. I think because I was so innocent that like, and like so like good like loving like good hearted like happy go lucky that even when people like laughed like at me or like made fun of like me being Asian, like I kind of just like laughed because I was like, oh yeah, and you're white.
Oh no.
What a great
Wait,
comeback.
if I
And you're
were
white.
Right?
if I
Like
were
no, I
like
would
if I
literally
were
like
the
say shit like
bully
that.
making fun of you and then you responded that to me, I would actually just not know what to say. I would be like, what? I mean, what? I mean,
Oh,
yeah.
that's so wholesome, Sean.
Right? I've
Wait,
always
I
been
That's
actually
so wholesome.
right.
uh, that okay. In the context of like growing up, I always like if, I don't know if feel bad is the right word, but I always feel I always hesitate a little bit to say things like that. But I agree. Like I also grew up pretty chill. Like I also wasn't really persecuted for being Asian, right? Like I had this one kid who was a complete asshole, but he was just an asshole. Period. Like he wasn't just an asshole to me. He was an asshole to everybody, right? So and like I said, like all of my best friends were white. Like I truly believe this. I well and truly believe this. Children are brought into this world pure of heart, right? It's the adults and the systems and the
Absolutely.
education systems around them that turn them into monsters.
Yeah.
They're not born that way, right?
Yeah.
So me and my friend, like yeah, like maybe those kids that I was friends with, maybe I was their first, maybe even only Asian like friend, right? But like at that age, like it just didn't matter. It was like if we vibe, like if we're having fun, like we couldn't stop. We were just like laughing all the time, right? Like who cares? I think like I think like kids are like that. Kids will be friends with whoever as long as they were taught, as long as they weren't actively taught that you shouldn't be friends with these people, right? Of course, now you do get parents or teachers or the system who like villainizes or even very innocent, not innocent, but like seemingly less egregiously by stereotyping groups of people to like, oh, like these people are a certain way. Then they start to sow the seeds of doubt, which maybe even turns into hate later on in the kids, but they're not born that way, I don't think.
And fuck yes, Linda
Oh yeah, Linda
Linda's.
Linda's oh
Oh my
amazing
god.
story.
Amazing.
Shout outs to them.
I love
Yo,
them.
the fucking
Just
the
like I
drummer's
said.
12, Stacy. The drummer's like 12 or 13. Crazy.
No, I know.
Right?
Like I
I
said in our group chat, like if I ever have children, that's the type of energy that like my children are going to
And I
have.
also
energy.
there's a special place in my heart for anyone who's punk rock, right? Because I grew
Hell
up
yeah.
the Jersey
The
boy
Jersey
lifestyle.
boy.
I was a guitarist in my band, and I wanted to rage against the system too. And I think the fact that these girls feel comfortable doing that and are celebrated by people like us, right? I think
And they
that's
got a
awesome.
record deal.
Yeah.
Yes, they signed with Epitaph, which is
Racist,
Yeah.
sexist
massively
boy.
Yeah.
and bright future ahead for them. I hope. I think. You know, but
I think on
Hey,
the
no
like
pressure
happy
either. No
note,
pressure to these
what?
kids. I said no pressure to these
Oh
kids
no.
either.
They look like they're just having
But
like the
have
best
they're just
fun,
having a
time.
great
yeah.
time.
You know,
Like
keep on having fun.
but like on a happier note for it, like the end of API month, like I feel like it's been like amazing for Asian creatives like this past year
Yeah.
and month.
Yes.
Like just the amount of like um, Asian led projects that have come out, like it's insane. I'm like so excited for all of these things to happen and all of the things that have happened, like all the fucking music that's come out, like oof,
I think
oof.
I think like so one I agree with you, and I'm saying this. It's gonna sound sad, but it's not. It turns it around at the end. But what I was gonna say was it started off really well, like this huge wave of like Asian American creative energy, pre-COVID, right? Like we were killing it, like so much representation.
Yeah, yeah.
Farewell just
Obviously
came
not
out.
enough, but more was happening and it was being celebrated, right? And then COVID happened, and obviously we have to deal with this whole Stop Asian Hate thing right now because Asians are being targeted wrongfully by many sectors of society,
We
and
can
I
just call them assholes.
yeah, well,
Or by
but I'm saying
assholes.
it's not one group of people, right?
No,
It's a
an
very
asshole.
widespread thing.
Everyone has an asshole.
Yeah,
Anyone
yeah.
can be an asshole.
So it's
It's true. I do
unfortunate
have a
that I
people.
feel like that had to happen, like at a time when we were about to hit that peak. But I believe, and I think this. So this is where it becomes happier, right? I think despite this anti-Asian, like this uptick in anti-Asian sentiment in society, I think even despite that, there's still so much energy in the community, and there's still so much achievement in the community. And while these assholes have come to the fore, who feel like they feel empowered to express their hatred and manifest their hatred towards Asian people, while that is unfortunate and that needs to be stopped, the the flip side is that there are groups and people and not just that, but Asians themselves who maybe to this point were not as vocally pro Asian community because they felt like they didn't really have to be, right? Because we were just kind of allowed to be here and exist quietly and just you know do our thing without being persecuted. And now that it's happening very very like in broad daylight, like I said, that we feel the need to really step up and like no, we actually do have to stick by, like really voice the community. And I feel like there's a silver lining there, and I do think that like you said, creative voices, not just creatives, but Asians of in all walks of life are being seen more, and I think that's
Yeah.
good.
And
I
I
wa-
think, like as unfortunate as it is, like a lot of the like anti-Asian sentiments have pushed more like Asians to mobilize and to like start creating and using their
Yeah.
voice
Yep.
in like whatever way feels right and comfortable for them. Which and sad that it has to get to this point for more Asians to like do their thing, but I
Yeah.
guess that's
I think the
And on
best.
that,
silver lining.
oh yeah, sorry, go ahead, Sean.
I think the best thing about this is that like we're reaching a younger generation too, right? Like we see younger and younger people doing this because like through this month, through streaming, through research and whatnot, like we know that this shit has happened in the past, and there have been Asian activists in the past, and there have been Asian creatives in the past, but because of access now and just like the way that like media is consumed, like younger and younger people see that and like are like, oh shit, I can be that way, right? And
Yeah.
that's what's really powerful to me. That's like the key difference between now and before.
I think also like there it's also like the older generations who have become more outspoken too, not just the younger ones.
Yeah.
Like I I feel like there's a lot more people in the like Asians in the older generation that like maybe wouldn't have, gone to protest or
Hmm.
even like spoken out like on the like news or whatnot. But now they're more comfortable in doing that and they see that this is what like they feel they need to do
Yeah.
to like protect our community.
Yeah.
And
Sean,
like
cheers.
um like going to that one protest that like the three of us were at, like there were so many groups of like elder Asian people there. And
I was actually so surprised. Yeah.
yeah, and they were like all like holding signs. They were all like super like involved and like doing the chants. They had their own chants. It was so moving
They
for
actually
me.
looked
Yeah.
so youthful. Like they
It's
looked
Yeah,
so wide-eyed and like so like like childlike almost,
I,
being like, "Oh my God, like this is so interesting," like
I think that has to
and I
do
feel
with access, like access to all these
yeah,
things now, right? Like because of
and you
social
gotta
media and
imagine, as
internet.
pissed off as we are, like I would be the most pissed off if I were of that generation where, I really put in my dues. Like I really had put my head down for so long and played along by the rules that society had set for me to really get to where my family like could be, only for people to feel like they could just punch us in the face like where like any time of day. Like I would be so pissed
Yeah.
if that,
yeah.
you know.
Not even
Um,
just like the physical violence, just um like Asian businesses just being burned down or like looted. Like
yeah.
that's an entire family, like multiple generations, like
Yeah.
income and well
Well,
being.
that's what I'm
That's
saying.
just
Like, these are the people
yeah, yeah.
who left their homes, who sacrificed everything, gambled everything to make it happen, and they
And they like
to
did
see
make
it,
it happen.
Yeah.
yeah, and to see it crumble like that, I would be so mad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I'm mad. I am mad. I'm mad for them. But if I were in their shoes, yeah. I mean, I think if anything was gonna get me to mobilize, it would be that kind of just
I love that you bring
devastation.
that up, Martin, because like that's a perfect place for me just to put this in that like understanding that is a perfect way to is a perfect representation or reflection of empathy towards black people, right? Because like black people
Yes,
face this
yes,
all the
yes,
time, right?
exactly.
Like they've been
Uh,
doing this, they've been
well,
facing
so
that and feeling
Tulsa
that.
has been at the forefront of the media
Yeah.
Exactly.
recently,
Yep.
and
Yep.
for
100
those,
years.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, for
There's
those of you who don't know, if you Google Black Wall Street, you'll see. This is an example of a thing that again we learned about. I learned about this in history class, but it was very kind of just.
you learned about this?
I did, yeah, but
A
it was
push.
like
A
this
push.
No.
happened.
Oh.
It happened, but like that was a long time ago, and like that's obviously bad. We shouldn't do that. But like, actually, I don't even know if it went that far. It was just like, yeah, this happened, like very, very matter of fact. But like, just really, if you sit there and really think about it, think about the just state-sponsored violence. Well, not sponsored, but
I
it was
mean,
it
you
was
Sanctions.
can call
allowed.
it
It
State
was
state.
allowed.
sanctions.
It,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Permitted
yeah.
state permitted violence of that magnitude. Just how can you not be just so angry, right? Like how can you not? And then for people to either say that it didn't happen or to say that it wasn't wrong, like it was justified. How can you not be just so angry about that, right? And I think like yeah, Sean, like I think like so, you know, we agree in that like empathy. I think that's something that I really want to see increase in the world, and it's something that we can. It's something that you can start with like inwardly, like with yourself, right? And I think like step number one. I know it's a huge step, and a lot of people, it's they're not there yet. But the first step is really thinking about yourself, your own humanity, your own struggles. How difficult life is for you as an individual, because that is universally like relatable, right? No matter how like white man you are, right? Like old white man you are, like everyone goes through personal like difficulties, and
Life fucking
for you
sucks
to
for everyone.
yeah,
Yeah.
it literally is. I have this conversation with people all the time.
Unless you're like Jeff Bezos.
No, but the reason why I don't understand like interpersonal violence is because even if everybody in your life around you is cheering for you, is rooting for you, is supporting you, you could still just die of a random accident, right? Like that's what I mean. Like life is already so chaotic and difficult, even if everyone's supporting you. On top of that, if you have people that are actively trying to hurt you, like I just don't understand how you could do that to somebody. And
Unfortunately, people aren't like very logical.
right, but so where you have to
It's 'cause
start with is first look at how chaotic and random and scary
it's like
life can be,
scapegoating.
just for yourself, right? And then understand that everybody else is going through obviously not the same life, right? But the randomness and like all of that stuff, like accidents can happen to anybody, right? And just think about how difficult life is for yourself, and then recognize that it's difficult for everybody else, and you don't want to be a source of further difficulty for somebody. I
Who
mean,
has the
that's me.
time?
What?
Nelly, what do you mean by that?
Who has the time to think about
To think about stuff like this?
no,
Well, and
but that's seriously the thing that really stops me from look listen, like I can be really angry with someone, right? But I can't, I really I've told this to multiple people, like I would find it very difficult to have to make the decision to like end somebody's life, you know what I mean? Like even if it's like, oh, like they're, if I don't restrain or like attack this person, they're going to also hurt other people. Like even in that situation, like if like a gun just happened to fall at my feet and there's like a mass shooter in front of me, it would still be really hard for me to do that, right? I know that sounds like super lame. Most people would be like, oh, of course, like I would kill the person. I was like, yeah, but I hope I would be able to incapacitate this person, right? But like, it's just I hope more people are like that. I hope more people are like me. Like I hope more people are like, I can't bring myself to kill this person. That's just me.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
I feel
Nelly.
like
Yeah, thanks for clarifying. Not
Yes,
to
me
make
too.
an angry sign, they must have so much free time.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. It's like,
Yeah.
dude, you have your own life to worry about.
I
Like you
think it's a
don't.
lot of scapegoating, you know?
Honest,
Like people just blame others for their own
Well, it's a
things, you know?
mental laziness, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's blaming
laziness.
others for your problems and whatever. But again, like,
but I think it's also like selfishness. Like you
Yeah.
talked
yeah,
about,
oh yeah,
like think
100%.
about like how life has been hard for you. I think most people just stop there. They
Right.
don't think about how life is also hard for like everyone else.
But
And
I think that's where like so we talk about representation, why that's important. It's not just it is very important in media, and it's also very important in your own life, right? It's very like obviously like there it's like a joke about how like like let's say like for example a white person will say like, oh, like I have a black friend or like I have an Asian friend, that means I like know what it's like for this group of people. It's like, yeah, that's obviously like stupid, right? But it does help to have obviously more than one, but like it does help to know actually people from these groups, right? It's like I would be much less likely to exercise violence on an individual that I see in my friend. You know what I mean? Like if I have, black friends, right? I feel again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like I would be much less likely to be racist against just black people in general, right? And same thing with like white people with their like token Asian friends. Like, yeah, okay, that's obviously a joke, and oftentimes they use that to excuse bad behavior, so that's not okay. But I think it is important for white people to have Asian friends and to have black friends, right, and to have Hispanic friends. Like it's really important to have these, and not just by race. Like let's say like differently abled people or like LGBTQ people, right? Like
like
it's
people from
important.
different incomes.
It's yeah,
Yeah.
socioeconomic,
Like
exactly, because you understand them, right? Like if they're your friends, you obviously care about them, and to care about one person who's like that, it's much more likely for you to care about other people who are also like that.
This is also a really good.
I think that also.
Go ahead, Stacey. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I was gonna say that this is also a really good reason and point as to why protests are really important, because if you know someone, or even if you're like if you're like every day, like I live in New York, right? So like I go out to like the bodega every now and then. My
Oh, so the Whole Foods.
My my
Is
neighbor
it the
kept
Whole
no
Foods?
the
Yeah,
bodega.
his favorite bodega in New York City.
No. But like my neighbor Kevin, he was just telling me about this yesterday actually about how like Yemen was like all the Yemeni people here like they did like all the Yemeni bodega owners and the store owners they had a strike one day to protest the like the wars and like the U.S. support of like these like wars in Yemen and whatnot. I don't know the exact history of it but and details but like you know my bodega owner was had his store closed right and just to put like a person and a face to the issue at hand is like that's like powerful right and
Yeah,
like
yeah, that's huge.
you know and like that's why exactly why like I said protests are so important because protests let people put faces to a cause
Hmm.
right but it's a shame because it's not necessarily how it's covered in media so you really need like the groundwork of it like you need to see it at the ground level
Yeah,
but
this goes so far back for me as my childhood. Like having again, like I told you, Stacy, I didn't quite understand the concept of anxiety, but I had really close friends of mine who suffered from panic attacks at a very young age, like middle school, right? And so because these people who I obviously cared about had this trait, like this, this was part of who they were, um, I knew from an early age that this is like a real thing. Like I didn't doubt, like oh, like panic attacks aren't real or like whatever, right?
Yeah.
And like also, from a very early age, I had friends who were gay, right? And again, like that, if not that, you're against it necessarily, but I think if you go your entire life not really knowing anyone who is, LGBTQ,
Yeah. And all you have
it's
is like the media portrayal or
right,
like,
and it's just
whatever
harder
you see
to
online.
really understand them at a deep level. You're just yeah,
Yeah.
you're just whatever media feeds you, right? Whereas it's like, oh no, I've spent so many hours with this person, like I know them deeply, and yeah, again, like this goes back to like the whole like oh knowing a token friend or whatever, but I think like unpopular opinion, like token whatever is actually better than not having it at all, right? Like it's like the gateway, I would say, right? It's like knowing one person it's broken that ice for you and it makes you more comfortable being around more of that type of person, whether it's Asian or like I said, like people with like mental conditions or like whatever it is, like
I'm gonna
it just
caveat that just by saying that like it's great to have that one friend, but like you also need to make the space for that one friend to like invite you into their culture and whatnot. Because like if you don't, then you're still kind of in a vacuum, right? Like say I have a black friend, but like the dude basically is for all intents and purposes white or adopts white culture when around like white people. Then like I'm not really getting a glimpse into like
oh
his
because
black
they feel like
culture.
they have to, you're saying,
Exactly.
like
Because
like they feel like they have to conform to the
correct,
to
because it's
yeah,
not
yeah,
right,
oh yeah, yeah.
exactly.
Well, and that's what I'm saying, right? It's like that wasn't the case for me
Yeah.
because yeah, no, no, I know, but I'm saying like because they felt comfortable around me to express who they really were, I also felt comfortable experiencing that with them, and
Yep.
then later experiencing that with other people.
Yeah.
And I think also too another caveat is like just because you have that one like token friend like doesn't mean like you're done, you're good. Like
Oh no, no,
Absolutely not.
like
no, and that was what I was getting back to earlier, right? I do obviously am very aware of the fact that people point to their token friend to excuse bigotry,
yeah.
right? To excuse exclusivity. Because, oh no, my credentials are that I have an Asian friend. I can't be racist to Asian people, right? That's obviously not true. And like I said, despite my early experience with, uh, different types of people, that doesn't mean that I am just the pinnacle of acceptance, right? Like I obviously, I mean, Sean knows this very well. I had a very long conversation with a friend of mine who I had a again, it's not that I was against it. I just was trying to wrap my head around the whole pronoun thing. This was very early on for me. For me, obviously, not for them, but for me, this was like my kind of first time, like having this conversation, and I was doing my best to understand it, but I was also kind of questioning it, right? I was like, well, why? Like, why is this a thing? And they were like, well, it's not really my job to tell you why, right? It's like I don't have to like justify why, right? Um, and at first I was just like, well, that's like a weird way to say that. Like I'm trying to understand you, and I feel like, you're getting mad at me for that. But then later, after being more educated on the topic, I realized like, yes, I do understand why it's exhausting, and it's not really their uh, responsibility to make me feel like I understand, right? It's so anyway, but yeah, yeah, the work is never done, obviously.
Yeah, I think that's like a really big problem too that I see like with a lot of people, right? Just the idea of like I need someone to justify this because I need my facts, right? I need the facts. But like, dude, we're not talking about facts. We're talking about like a person that like that you care about, right? Like just like take whatever they have to say to heart, right? And just be like, okay, yeah, I care about you enough that I will, adopt this, whatever. If it's important to you, then it's important to me, right? Like,
Yeah.
Well, and that,
end of
at the
story.
end of the day, that's really what carried me through that
Right?
conversation.
Exactly,
I
exactly.
feel like if this was with anyone else, I probably would have. Well, I probably did still offend them a little bit, but I think they also understood like, yes, yes, this is exhausting for me, but I see that he's not like being a dick about it. But it's like they basically left it at like, I no longer really want to talk about this. If you're curious, like go look it up, which I did, and I was like, okay, now I totally get it. But yeah, I agree. I could not agree more. It's like it's a complacency, right? And it's something that if we're if
I mean, it's a
we
privilege too.
really want if we really want to live in a society that's accepting of us, then we also need to be accepting of everybody
Yep,
else,
yep.
right?
Yeah.
Wow, covered a lot. I want to know before like last thing that I think for today's like first edition of the pod. I guess we can call this.
Is this our official pod?
This is our official first pod. It can be. It can be. Why not?
I mean, we got into some stuff.
Why not?
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's a good. Like we talk about a lot of cool things. I think Um, I think one thing that I want to just leave off on is that like Stacey, you kind of talked about this earlier that like Heritage Month isn't just a month, right? Like we always will carry our heritage with us, but like a couple things. One, what's next for us? What's next for you all? What's next for us as a whole? For with MSG, and then, like what are some reflections of the way that we showed our activism and utilize our space for Heritage Month? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Stacy?
I think for me, top of mind, what's next is, I'm still trying to work on my mental health. It's an everyday, and I don't want to say struggle, but it is a struggle.
Everyday journey.
Everyday journey. I like personally, I'm trying to be more intentional in my like everyday life, so then I can be intentional like for the greater collective, in like advocating for Asian Americans and like other groups that I feel connected to and passionate about. But I don't think I can be fully present or fully. I can't be the best I can be for others if I'm struggling internally.
Yep.
So,
No, I was just agreeing. Yeah.
Yeah, so my like top priority right now is getting my mental health back to a solid ground.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I am I'm excited for us though as like MSG and like because I feel like in our first DGen stream and in this one like we covered like so many like topics and like we just and just talking about like whatever shit, but I think it's interesting to hear like both your point of views and just to have more of our voices out there for people to like listen to, consume, and like hopefully like get a better understanding of like where at least we are coming from as MSG and also as like our own individual people.
Word.
And also, yeah, Asians forever.
It's an honor just to be Asian. Sandra O.
It is. Shout out to Sandra O.
You guys are doing a great job. I am and have.
Uh,
Oh, thanks, Cindy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ryan, your takes?
Yeah. First of all, I mean, obviously we've had the conversation about like the video format, and that is what it is. But like even with that, I think what Sean was able to come up with in terms of the programming for this month, for like AAPI Heritage Month, I think that was incredible. Like I think your ability to anchor, well, first of all, have researched these. Actually, most of these moments I didn't know. At least half of them I didn't know about. Right, like Oxnard Strike, I had no idea. David Fagan, I had no idea. Like that story is so cool to me. Um, but yeah, so I think your ability to, I mean, I shouldn't be surprised because you've done this before and you will continue to do so. But I just think that, yeah, I think the programming was really dope. I think the recipes you came up with were really dope, and I think, um, you know, I am excited for MSG to do more of that kind of stuff. Like I'm excited for us to shed more light on, cultural and historic topics, um, and to, you know, contextualize them in food and in a shared experience, like a dining experience. I can't wait for in-person dining experiences to be back,
Events,
which is soon.
Events. Guys,
For
so I can
Sean.
open a restaurant.
I don't think we'll
What?
stream it, but there will be content coming out of the MSG Test Kitchen,
Yeah.
which is Sean's housewarming. It's a very, very COVID safe
Very
environment
COVID safe.
for those of you who are wondering, because we, despite the CDC somehow doing a complete 180, we still take that extremely seriously, personally. Um, I'm excited for that. I'm excited for, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what crazy shit we get up to. For those of you who are still here, we are maybe trying to get back into distributing some foodstuffs, on a kind of
Yes, Nelly, you
unofficial
can be a taste tester.
unofficial basis. Yes, yes. And in fact, shameless plug right here. Yo, Sean, don't think. I was like, yo, Sean might think this is disrespectful, but I actually brought your extra hot chili crisp to a restaurant
Nice.
because it was it was Chef Tan's actually, because
Oh.
because Jeremy was like, it's not that spicy. I was like, yo, I will teach you a lesson. I'll teach you a lesson. And Henry and Jeremy loved it. They
Yeah,
loved it.
nice.
People want it. I want it. I'm almost down. I was like, you guys need to be. Don't use too much.
Sean, you need to start writing down these recipes.
Yeah, I know. Part of it is.
I'll take one for the team. Yeah, same. I will take one for the team. So, you know, stuff is coming soon, and yeah, I'm stoked. This is going to be, for how we have to make up for lost time, huh? Like we had so much energy going into 2020, and that just shut down, and we need to. We've had a lot of time. We rebranded since then. We started a Twitch channel since then. We have a lot of energy going into 2021, second half of 2021. It's going to be a great year.
You got plans.
Got plans. I will
And
pick
as far as for
yourself.
yeah, for myself, um, I really believe this is going to be the best year of my life and of our experience as MSG, and personally, honestly, I think the fact that we're putting in this work, right, for ourselves, we have this intention. Stacy's gonna be the best year of your life. Sean's gonna be the best year of your life.
It'll be the best year until
I'm
next
like-
year,
I'm like-
and then
I-
that'll be the best year.
You know what's
Always.
funny is
W's
when I
only.
saw Wonder Woman 84, I actually really loved Max Lord as a character. Like actually, like he's like, life is good, but it can be better. And that's this year. Like I was like, life is pretty good, but it can be, and it will be better. It will be better. That's I truly believe that.
Yeah.
And that's all from me.
Yeah, I will piggyback on a lot of what both of y'all said, that I'm excited for what's to come. I truly believe in the Feast of Resistance as a concept, as a storytelling platform. My light is dying, so that's why it's blinking. Um,
Oh,
but yeah,
Can't get through a stream without technical
I
difficulties.
know. It's because I didn't charge it before. It's okay.
it
It's
looks like a
fine.
warning light. Like you haven't stopped talking.
But yeah, I'm excited for what's to come. I think this project has been a long time coming, and to finally be able to see it like see content coming out from it, and just seeing like dishes come to fruition, has been really worthwhile. I will say that like to amend what Mara had said, even if we will have content, even if it's not soon, we will have content, because like I'm in this for the long run. I don't know about you two, but like I'm in it. I'm in this. So like I'm trying to say what I gotta say, for
Did
the rest of
he
my
just
life.
say I don't know
I
about
know,
you two?
excuse me?
Is this where I hang up? Do I just leave?
What?
No, all right.
Alright, Stacy, execute order 66. No shares. No shares.
But yeah, I plan on preaching what I gotta preach for the rest of my life, and whether or not that's on a big platform or in my own circle, regardless, like I think I'm gonna impact people, and that's what I want to do, and I have that intention. So
Sean really said, I'm on a rocket ship to the moon. You can either be on it or not be on it. He really said that.
That's right. That's right. And yeah, like this is where I'm at, and I love bringing people with me. It's just a matter of
Well,
like,
cheers to that, brother.
Whoop, whoop. Sean, you've basically just been doing what you've been doing all along, just on like a named platform and
exactly,
brand now.
exactly,
Well, I
and
mean,
that's the
not every,
genius. That's the genius
not
of
everybody
it.
knows the origin story, partially because it's taken me years to tell this. That's my bad. But this whole thing literally just started by Sean wanting to throw a party for his birthday, right? Like, that's how
Correct.
MSG started.
Yeah.
Correct.
And
We're out for our cousin's birthday.
well, I think the reason why it works, like I think the reason why you have the energy and drive to do this is because it's authentic, right? It's because it's something that was just very natural. And like Stacy said, we happened to just put a brand name on it. That was some color scheme and some logo and whatever. But even if you didn't have any of that, um, that's not why people come here. People don't come here for the brand, right? Like they come here for. I mean, Sean is the brand, right? So,
Yeah, it's basically like Sean is my sweet grandma.
and we're here
Even
to
though
help
even though I'm not
promote.
like a major owner of the company anymore, but
No, you're not an owner at
You're
all.
not like you're a zero owner
0%
at this
owner.
point. Zero.
But
You get nothing.
but jokes of hostile takeovers aside, we are
It's not
really
a
here.
joke.
We are really here to help. Like we all joined on because we're down with the vision
yeah,
and
Yeah.
the energy,
We believe in
the
Sean.
vibes. We love the vibes,
we love the
and
vibes.
we were all there for the OG first MSG, and we were like, this needs to happen all the time. Like this
Yeah.
needs to
It's so
happen.
much fun.
I was
many,
fucking
many
lit, man.
times.
I was so lit.
And
Can't wait to do
like
events again.
just thinking about like the evolution of it, right? Like where we've come since then has been a really worthwhile like exploration to me too. Just like looking back, seeing
Yeah.
like it's just like it's not that it's different. It's not that we pivoted. It's that we've evolved, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
I think we like refined.
refined.
Like, our...
Yeah, totally.
well, I just love like being part of MSG, not to get all like sappy and shit, but like being part of MSG has honestly like allowed me to experience some things that I probably would never have experienced on my own. Like I think like yeah, obviously there were smaller scale events, but I think like being with Sean at like the ACN showcase vending and at the ethereal right vending, like those were exciting experiences for me. Being on our dgen stream and seeing our first hype train ever, like our first like gifted subs ever, that was insane. Like I watch people on Twitch and I see this happen for other streamers, and I did not think that that would ever happen for me, like like, you know what I mean? I didn't think that that was an experience or an emotion that I would be able to experience myself, and I got that, right? And I think we're going to continue to feel that way as we keep breaking barriers, right? Like the first like I don't know, smorgasburg or something that like Sean like is vending at, I'm gonna be there and be like holy shit, like we're at smorgasburg. This is a
Yeah.
thing that I've come to as a consumer for years, and like now we're here vending. Like that's crazy. So
One of these
I'm
days.
excited for you. I'm excited for us. Like I think we're gonna do great things. And huge shout out to everybody, in chat and all our friends and family who have supported us throughout this. Um, Obviously, we wouldn't be able to do any of this without, you know,
Support.
the support. Yeah, I mean, I think me and Sean are both like very. I think Sean is kind of in like a ambivert, but I'm also we do have a very extroverted side to us. For me, it's most of my personality. For him, it's like half of his personality. But it's that wanting to like show people a good time, to feed them, and like to get lit with them, and like
Yeah.
just to have fun. And it's like if we don't have this, if people come through these things and it sucks, like the energy sucks, I don't think we would have ever done it again. We'd have been like, let's literally never do that again.
Thankfully, we've never had that
But
happen.
yeah, but I feel like I don't want to sound like pretentious or like whatever, but I don't think like that could happen. Just like because of the amount of like care
No,
that
I
like we
completely
all
agree.
have
I completely
in like
agree.
in like just wanting to to make sure that people around us are having a good time, and like even if we're if it's not even if it's like if it's not ugh, even if it's not like a big like event or whatever, like if we just have like people over, like we always want to make sure like people are comfortable
Well, but
and like
that's
having a
that,
good
right?
time.
But then even like our Twitch stream, right? Like obviously, like this was a big question mark for us. We did it thinking like, okay, if this doesn't go well, we might have to like pull the plug on this. And I think the fact that we had people coming through, engaging, again, like the gifted subs was really, I can't harp on that enough. Like that's just just thank you, thank you to the people who found any ounce of value in this. It's very
Yeah.
validating for me. That's Sean. See, that's the classic extrovert in me.
I will say a Lou family trait is our sense of hospitality, and that's why Martin is adopted into this because he has that
Oh yeah, well I
trait.
told you, right? Like Koreans, we have a word for that in Korean, chong, like
Chung.
sense of
Yeah,
hospitality.
yeah,
And the Liu family, I can tell you, has that in spades.
yeah. The Lou and
Every time I
Huang
go out with
family.
this,
Just putting that out
when
there.
I go out with these people, it's always a party. It's always, good food, lots of food, too much food.
And it's not just me and Stacy. It's all our cousins too. Our whole
No, yeah,
generation.
It's like the entire family.
The whole family.
Like,
We're all like that.
I've experienced this a few times, and every time I come out of it several pounds heavier.
Yeah.
But also several shades happier. I always feel happy afterwards.
several pounds heavier in your heart.
Yeah,
my
that
heart.
too. Well, with that said, thank you all for
No,
coming.
we're just like gushing over each
We're
other.
gushing over. It's
I
fine.
know,
This is the
stop it,
positivity.
guys.
This is the positivity we need.
Stop being so wholesome.
Getting
Stop.
This is like unsolicited. What do you call it? What is it called?
Circle jerking. I don't know.
No, well, I had a more wholesome term for it. What's the PDA? This is like unsolicited PDA.
I wasn't too far off, I guess.
I hope you're not circle jerking in public.
Who knows what Sean's into these days?
Not that. I will tell you, not that. Not that.
No kink shaming.
Hey, as long as you have a mask on.
Hey, don't. What is it?
That's
Was
true.
it? Don't
COVID
yuck my yum, right?
COVID compliant circle jerk.
With that said, I think Martin had said it really well, and that thank you for all your support, and if you're trying to support some more, you can subscribe for free with your Twitch Prime. Give me Jeff Bezos' money, please. Please, you can subscribe for free, just so you know. If you have Amazon Prime.
Yeah,
But-
gotta give it up to you, Sean. You're really
Yeah, you really settled into the role. You know, it
Guys,
makes
also
us feel
subscribe to
more
our YouTube
legit.
too.
We gotta be pandering for those primes.
All right,
Get
y'all.
those subs.
Get those
All right.
subs.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you
It was a
again.
good
Love
stream. Love you
you.
all.
Happy
Take
Love
care.
API month.
Reach out to your loved ones. Call your grandparents if they're with you. You know, cherish them. All right. Take care, y'all.
Peace.
Bye. Until next time.